Chapter 1065. Du Xiaofu's eyes narrowed. At this moment, Dongli Qingqing was surrounded by a mysterious and terrifying aura. She was resisting the white lightning, emitting a terrifying pressure. The white lightning seemed to want to destroy Dongli Qingqing's defense, but it didn't seem to be an easy task. Du Xiaofu, leave quickly. This spirit lightning isn't something you can handle. Dongli Qingqing's voice rang out from within the bright green light. A mysterious and terrifying energy rippled from her body. Although she was trapped, Dongli Qingqing could still struggle. However, the situation didn't seem optimistic. How can I leave you alone? Du Xiaofu looked at the giant lightning tree in front of him. Golden light rippled in his eyes. Countless ideas flashed through his mind. It seemed that he didn't have much confidence in dealing with the spirit lightning in front of him. That devil religion's transcendent spirit talisman master was directly killed by this spirit lightning. This spirit lightning is a strange object of heaven and earth. It's not easy to deal with. You'll die. Leave quickly. Dongli Qingqing shouted. At this moment, she could feel how terrifying this spirit lightning was. She knew that Du Xiaofu was strong and savage, but what she was facing now was a spirit lightning. If I die, then I die. It's not like I haven't died before. Du Xiaofu smiled faintly. The golden rock wings on his back flapped. After thinking about it, he didn't know if his thunder martial veins and purple thunder profound cauldron had any confidence in dealing with this spirit lightning. If you die, how will you reunite with your family? How will you protect everything you want to protect? Leave now. Dongli Qingqing shouted. She was already trapped by this spirit lightning. She didn't want to see him trapped too. It was enough that he chased after this spirit lightning for her. Hearing Dongli Qingqing's words, Du Xiaofu's gaze trembled. Then he looked at Dongli Qingqing and a faint smile appeared on his face. He said, "You're my woman. Naturally you're my family. Now you're everything I want to protect. If I have to die, then I'll die with you." What nonsense are you talking about? Since when am I your woman? Dongli Qingqing was stunned for a moment. There was a strange fluctuation in the depths of her eyes. Those words made her shy, but she was happy to hear them. Don't forget you've already kissed me. Du Xiaofu smiled, but his eyes was only looking at the sky. And he didn't let's. If you talk about that again, I won't let you off. Dongli Qingqing's face reddened. She had no choice but to use all her strength to activate her mysterious and terrifying aura to resist the white lightning. Human. So, great nourishment. The white lightning tree opened its mouth. A ferocious head loomed on the huge trunk. Boom. Suddenly, a shocking white lightning pierced through space and silently appeared around Du Xiaofu, enveloping Du Xiaofu. Surrounded by white lightning, the lightning spread in all directions, enveloping the sky. With a rumbling sound, it resounded in Du Xiaofu's ears. Du Xiaofu's expression changed. The golden wings on his back immediately protected him. Boom! The explosion was like thunder. Countless white lightning bolts exploded on Du Xiaofu's wings. Under the huge impact, Du Xiaofu spat out a mouthful of blood. The lightning bolts surged into his body. However, that was all. The terrifying lightning bolts surged into his body and were immediately absorbed by the thunder martial vein. Do you really think I'm easy to bully? Du Xiaofu shouted. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth in his purple robe. A purple gold light suddenly spread out from his palm. The purple thunder profound cauldron appeared in Du Xiaofu's palm. It immediately turned into a huge three-legged cauldron that hung upside down in the sky. Boom! The lightning space suddenly trembled violently. The wind and clouds in the sky surged. Purple gold thunderclouds gathered out of nowhere. Lightning flashed and thunder roared. A large amount of purple gold lightning gathered in the sky. Such a destructive aura made people tremble in fear. Rumble! The explosion spread in the sky. The sky and earth trembled continuously. Purple gold lightning raged. It was as if countless bombs had exploded in the sky. The destructive energy spread. The surrounding sky and earth seemed to be about to be destroyed. If the white spiritual thunder was the nemesis of the primordial spirit, it was a terrifying existence. At this moment, the purple thunder profound cauldron was destructive. It was like the king of lightning. The pressure from the purple thunder profound cauldron was not something the white spiritual thunder could compare to. However, Du Xiaofu's strength was not enough to reach the strongest level of the purple thunder profound cauldron. At this moment, the white spiritual thunder seemed to have sensed something. The huge lightning tree fluctuated violently. The surrounding lightning space rippled. It was as if it had turned into a lightning pool. There were also loud rumbling sounds of thunder that continuously spread out from the lightning pool, causing one's heart to tremble. The white lightning arcs were like silver snakes that continuously exploded in all directions. "This is the key," Du Xiaofu muttered. He felt that the purple thunder profound cauldron seemed to be able to suppress the white spiritual thunder. He secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Taking a step forward, Du Xiaofu activated the purple thunder profound cauldron with his mind. A terrifying purple-gold lightning vortex gathered in the surrounding purple-gold lightning. Roar! Suddenly, a roar came from the lightning pool where the white lightning bolts gathered. The lightning gathered and turned into a ferocious white lightning beast. This lightning beast was like a tiger and a wolf. It had a pair of wings and lightning bolts. It charged directly at Du Xiaofu. "Go!" Du Xiaofu shouted. The purple thunder profound cauldron spun and suddenly appeared in front of him. Around the cauldron, purple-gold lightning gathered to form a vortex. It was as if a terrifying purple-gold black hole had appeared. As the purple-gold lightning vortex appeared, the ferocious lightning beast's eyes were filled with fear. It seemed to be pulled by a huge force and was directly pulled into the purple thunder profound cauldron. Sizzle! At the same time, the lightning in the surrounding white lightning pool seemed to be pulled by some invisible force. It was as if it was involuntarily and was not controlled by the spiritual thunder. It madly rushed towards the purple thunder profound cauldron. Rumble! The terrifying lightning swept out and the heaven and earth trembled. The lightning raged as if there were countless bombs exploding. It was ear-piercing and dizzying. However, this seemingly violent white lightning disappeared the moment it came into contact with the purple thunder profound cauldron. It immediately disappeared into the purple thunder profound cauldron. Countless bolts of lightning flashed and danced crazily. Along with the rumbling sound of thunder, they swept towards the purple lightning profound cauldron from all directions. However, in the end, they all disappeared into the purple thunder profound cauldron. It did not even shake the purple thunder profound cauldron. At this moment, the purple thunder profound cauldron was like a bottomless pit. It allowed the white lightning to sweep in and did not move at all. All of this surprised Du Xiaofu. He did not expect the purple thunder profound cauldron to have such an effect. It seemed to be able to suppress the white spiritual thunder. Damn it! At this moment, the huge white lightning tree roared angrily. It seemed to have felt fear. The huge tree moved horizontally in midair like a demon god. It exploded with huge lightning bolts that covered the sky and earth. It was as if the heavenly lightning had descended and punished all living things. It suppressed the purple thunder profound cauldron. The purple thunder profound cauldron moved. The huge cauldron spun and a shocking purple-gold lightning energy spread out. It was as if it had turned into countless purple-gold spiritual snakes that shuttled through the void. The oppressive lightning made one's hair stand on end and felt a chill in one's heart. Under the convergence of the purple lightning, the huge white lightning tree was stunned. It seemed to be even more afraid of the purple-gold profound cauldron. In a short moment, the terrifying purple-gold lightning vortex in the purple thunder profound cauldron seemed to have undergone an invisible change. The purple thunderbolts instinctively drew the white thunderbolts in the sky, swallowing the white thunderbolts that were like lightning punishments. Rumble! In the end, the purple-gold lightning vortex in the purple thunder profound cauldron turned into a terrifying purple-gold lightning that spread out. A rumbling sound reverberated in midair. The purple-gold lightning energy that filled the sky was so terrifying. It was simply destructive. Suddenly, the entire space trembled violently. The aura was so destructive that it could destroy the heavens and earth. The purple thunder profound cauldron expanded and covered the sky. It was upside down towards the huge white lightning tree. In the end, even the huge white lightning tree was pulled in by a huge force. It was shrouded and could not escape. Bang, bang, bang. The golden lightning in the upside-down purple thunder profound cauldron was raging. It was as if countless bombs had exploded. The destructive power fell from the 9 heavens. No, at this moment, the white lightning tree seemed to have felt something. The huge lightning tree dispersed and the white lightning bolts were swallowed by the purple thunder profound cauldron. It was simply unstoppable. Chapter 1066. Sizzle. The white lightning surrounding Dongli Qingqing gradually dissipated as it was swallowed by the purple lightning profound cauldron. The purple gold profound lightning shot out from the purple lightning profound cauldron and swallowed the white lightning. Bang, bang, bang. In the sky above this space, purple gold thunderclouds gathered, and the low rumble of thunder resounded in this world. How can this be? A shaky voice sounded. The white lightning tree crumbled and was swallowed by the purple lightning profound cauldron. It was involuntarily sucked in. At this moment, even Du Xiaofu was surprised. The purple lightning profound cauldron did not need to be controlled by him at all. It was swallowing the white lightning on its own. Sizzle. The white lightning tree became smaller and smaller. It exploded with silver lightning, but it could not stop the purple lightning profound cauldron from swallowing it. Swoosh. The crumbling white lightning tree dissipated. Suddenly, an exceptionally bright silver lightning flashed out, breaking free from the purple thunder profound cauldron's devouring. It appeared directly in front of Du Xiaofu at an incomparably terrifying speed. Rumble. Du Xiaofu was shocked. A terrifying aura that made one's soul tremble rushed towards him. Suddenly, a golden light burst out and his wings flapped to protect himself. Swoosh. However, the brightest lightning exploded with an aura that Du Xiaofu could not resist. It penetrated through all openings and went straight into Du Xiaofu's forehead. Boom. At this moment, the white lightning entered his body. A monstrous aura that could destroy one's primordial spirit swept through Du Xiaofu's mind. The terrifying aura was destructive. It was as if it could destroy one's primordial spirit in an instant. Du Xiaofu's soul could not resist. It was the nemesis of primordial spirits. Not good. Du Xiaofu was shocked. The terrifying white lightning entered his mind. For the first time, Du Xiaofu felt that he was so close to death. It was as if he was about to be destroyed. The white lightning was the nemesis of primordial spirits. It could destroy all primordial spirits and even swallow his own primordial spirit for its own use. At this moment, Du Xiaofu could only activate his thunder martial veins to protect himself. Boom! Just as Du Xiaofu was about to activate his lightning martial vein, the lightning martial vein, which was already eager to give it a try, could no longer be suppressed and directly surged out when the white thunderbolt entered his glabella. In an instant, the thunder martial vein in Du Xiaofu's body surged and covered his entire body. A magnificent and desolate aura spread out, channeling the purple gold electric arcs into his mind and enveloping the white thunderbolts. Suddenly, the white lightning trembled, and fear filled Du Xiaofu's mind. Facing the trembling of Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein, the white thunderbolt immediately retreated as if it had seen its greatest fear. White thunderbolts exploded in Du Xiaofu's mind and attacked his entire body. The white lightning struck and drilled into Du Xiaofu's bones, muscles, blood vessels, cells, and internal organs, causing Du Xiaofu unbearable pain. However, the thunder martial vein surged out of his body and swallowed all the white thunderbolts. High up in the sky, Du Xiaofu's figure trembled. The blazing glow of lightning around his body was like a rising sun, and countless dazzling lightning talisman markings covered the heavens and the earth as they suffused the sky like purplish gold lightning serpents that shuttled through the sky. Pif! Dongli Qingqing fell to the ground and spat out dark red blood. She looked up nervously at the sky and saw the young man wrapped in purple gold electric arcs. After a while, she was shocked and said, "Thunder martial vein, that's the thunder martial vein that disappeared. Could he be a member of that clan that disappeared?" The white thunderbolts surged in Du Xiaofu's body and the thunder martial vein in his body directly absorbed them. The surrounding purple gold electric arcs overflowed as the thunder martial vein greedily absorbed the white thunderbolts. Rumble! The space trembled, and for some reason, many white thunderbolts began to roar in the air. An endless stream of white thunderbolts landed on Du Xiaofu's body. The purple thunder profound cauldron had already calmed down in the air. However, the endless stream of white thunderbolts continued to be absorbed by Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein. After the white thunderbolts were absorbed by the thunder martial vein, Du Xiaofu could feel that the thunder martial vein was changing. It seemed to be faintly strengthening. The white thunderbolts were like nourishment for the thunder martial vein. Ah! Du Xiaofu screamed. Although the thunder martial vein could absorb the white spiritual thunderbolts, the excruciating pain in his body made Du Xiaofu feel so much pain that he wished he was dead. The violent energy impact seemed to be tearing Du Xiaofu's body apart. Most importantly, in Du Xiaofu's mind, the most dazzling white thunderbolt was entrenched. The pressure it released wanted to destroy the primordial spirit. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein was also suppressing the most dazzling white thunderbolt. However, for the thunder martial vein, the mind seemed to be the weakest part. It could only suppress the white thunderbolt and not go forward. It could not completely destroy the white thunderbolt. The terrifying pressure released by the white thunderbolt made Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit miserable beyond words. If not for the fact that Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit had been tempered by the purple gold profound bomb and the fact that the primordial spirit had undergone an extremely different transformation due to the mysterious incomplete cultivation technique, he would have been defeated long ago. Walala! Suddenly, at this moment, as if sensing the threat of his primordial spirit being destroyed, a dazzling talisman rune flashed in Du Xiaofu's mind's Naiwen Palace. The dazzling talisman rune appeared in Du Xiaofu's mind like a spiderweb. An ancient and mysterious aura spread and turned into a terrifying energy that directly covered the dazzling white thunderbolt. The dazzling white thunderbolt exploded. An electric arc rushed out and turned into a ferocious thunderbolt head that wanted to rush out of the cover of the talisman rune. Boom! The talisman rune was wrapped in a dazzling divine light. It seemed as if there was a supreme aura spreading. It wanted to suppress the world and destroy everything that came from outside, causing the surrounding space to rumble endlessly. Sizzle, sizzle. The ferocious thunderbolt head was only in a stalemate for a moment before it was directly destroyed by the talisman rune that covered it. In Du Xiaofu's mind, white thunderbolts surged and attacked his Naiwen Palace. Then, the thunderbolt head shattered and turned into a dim white thunderbolt light that floated in Du Xiaofu's mind. Ah! An intense scream came out of Du Xiaofu's mouth. It was like a roar, shaking the world to the point that it wanted to turn the world upside down. The ferocious thunderbolt head shattered. The terrifying impact and pressure made Du Xiaofu unable to resist, and he screamed. Then his primordial spirit suffered a violent impact and his entire Naiwen Palace trembled. Du Xiaofu's mind also lost consciousness and his body fell from the sky. Bang! Du Xiaofu's body fell to the ground. The purple lightning mysterious cauldron that was hovering in the air quietly turned and directly entered Du Xiaofu's body. Xiaofu! Dongli Qingqing shouted. Her beautiful face turned pale. She rushed over but was unable to get close in the end. Du Xiaofu's body fell to the ground, but his body was still wrapped in a layer of flickering thunderbolt light. Purple electric arcs overflowed. After devouring the white thunderbolt, Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein aura became stronger and stronger. It was filled with a supreme pressure that made Dongli Qingqing unable to get close. Dongli Qingqing was worried, but she felt relieved when she felt Du Xiaofu's aura. Although he had fainted and seemed to have lost consciousness, his vitality was not reduced and his aura was still the same. In this space, the last white thunderbolt was absorbed by the thunder martial vein in Du Xiaofu's body. As the thunder martial vein's aura became stronger, there was also a stream of energy that seeped out of the thunder martial vein and poured into the body. It was like returning to the origin, like the reverse flow of the sea, causing the unconscious Du Xiaofu's aura to start rising directly. Covered by the thunder martial vein, Du Xiaofu's mind lost consciousness at this moment. However, the mysterious incomplete cultivation technique in his body was triggered and started to operate on its own. It also started to emit an ancient white light, like a divine light shrouding him. No one could see what was happening in Du Xiaofu's mind. As the mysterious incomplete cultivation technique operated, it absorbed everything. In Du Xiaofu's mind, the last white thunderbolt that was destroyed by the dazzling mysterious runes quietly dimmed in his mind. However, at this moment, it was also involved by the mysterious incomplete cultivation technique and started to be refined gradually. Finally, it started to integrate into Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit. Chapter 1067. In the Naiwen Palace in Lin Fan's mind, the shrunken figure of Du Xiaofu's essence soul fell into a deep sleep. However, as the mysterious incomplete cultivation technique refined the dim white thunderbolt, the white thunderbolt fused directly into Du Xiaofu's unconscious essence soul. There was an additional white electric arc in Du Xiaofu's essence soul. The dim white thunderbolt did not seem very dim, but it was extremely difficult to refine. It also turned into an endless stream of white electric arc that connected to the essence soul, allowing Du Xiaofu's essence soul to fuse with the white electric arc. Du Xiaofu, who was unconscious, was completely unaware of all this. Only the thunder martial vein and the mysterious incomplete cultivation technique in his body were circulating on their own. Also, the two auras in Du Xiaofu's body were rising continuously. The speed at which the auras rose was like a rocket. Dongli Qingqing, who was not far away, could only watch with her mouth agape. The power of the white thunderbolt that was originally devoured by the thunder martial vein in Du Xiaofu's body was now surging into Du Xiaofu's body while he was in a deep sleep. This power had already been refined by the thunder martial vein and turned into a pure surge of energy that surged into Du Xiaofu's body. Du Xiaofu had the cultivation of a mysterious martial venerable. However, the power that the white thunderbolt had turned into was also extremely huge. It was endless and surging. Dongli Qingqing did not know what to do. She did not know the situation and did not dare to act rashly. Even Dongli Qingqing, who was wrapped in the thunder martial vein, could not get close to Du Xiaofu's body. Then, Dongli Qingqing could only take elixirs to regulate her breathing and wait quietly at the side. As time passed, everyone in Tianhuang mainland approached the vicinity of Thunder Rolling Mountain and surged towards it. The mountain peak, the setting sun, the rosy glow. A figure stood there quietly, shrouded in the light. His face was white and fair, revealing an angular curve. The shape of his lips was especially beautiful, as if he was showing off his nobility and elegance. This was an absolutely handsome man. He looked to be around 28 or 29 years old. He was so handsome that he definitely wouldn't lose out to Yin Mochin and the other handsome men. Especially under those long and curly eyelashes, there was a pair of eyes that were as clear as morning dew, with a faint charm. "Welcome, sect master." On the mountain peak, there were still hundreds of figures bowing to salute. Other than the 2 honorable realm cultivators and a dozen martial royal realm cultivators, the rest were young men and women. Their temperaments were extraordinary and their auras were not weak. The young men and women of the younger generation might not be particularly outstanding in Tianhuang mainland at this moment, but if they were on a separate continent, they would definitely be the cream of the crop among the younger generation. They were all dragons and phoenixes among men. "Rise." The young man waved his sleeves, gesturing for the people behind him to rise. He was wearing a dark purple satin robe. Not only did it reflect a faint purple glow under the rosy glow, but it also looked comfortable and elegant on his body. "Sect master, old Cain is dead. He was killed by the Demon King." A beautiful middle-aged woman spoke. She gasped when she heard about the Demon King's deeds that had recently spread across Tianhuang mainland. "Demon King." The young man raised his head slightly. His hair was tied up high, and his long hair flowed down his back like flowing water. He smiled faintly. That smile seemed to have a beauty that didn't differentiate between gender, giving people a soul-stirring charm. At this moment, there were many female disciples on the mountain peak. Their eyes were filled with infatuation, as if they couldn't wait to be loved by him. "Where is Du Xiaofu now?" The young man in dark purple robes spoke. His voice was filled with a gentle charm that was enough to make all the women fall head over heels for him. "Sect master, the Demon King Du Xiaofu appeared in the west a few days ago. It was said that he had killed a Nirvana Beast Master level yellow-striped heaven-shaking tiger and ate it. The beautiful woman spoke and gasped. It was rumored that the Demon King was absolutely savage. She had personally witnessed how terrifying the Demon King Du Xiaofu was. Even though he wasn't old, he was enough to strike fear in others. You guys continue to head to Thunder Rumbling Mountain. You'll have to pay the price for killing people of my sect, the young man spoke. The moment he finished speaking, his figure had already disappeared into thin air. When Du Xiaofu woke up, a terrifying force surged into his body. He wasn't paying attention and his qi and blood surged. He groaned and almost spat out blood. Feeling the terrifying force surging into his body, Du Xiaofu immediately sat down cross-legged and formed a hand seal. His mind probed into his body and immediately felt a surge of energy from the thunder martial vein surging into his body. This surge of energy should be the energy formed after the thunder martial vein swallowed the white spiritual thunder. It had the aura of thunder and lightning. The white spiritual thunder was extremely powerful. Even though most of its energy was swallowed by the purple lightning profound cauldron, the remaining energy seemed to be the purest. Under the effect of the thunder martial vein, it turned into a surge of pure qi. It didn't even need to be refined before it surged into his god's watchtower. In his mind's Niwen palace, the originally dim white spiritual thunder was actually being refined by the mysterious incomplete cultivation technique. In the end, it was used by him and merged into his primordial spirit. As the white spiritual thunder merged into his primordial spirit, Du Xiaofu could clearly feel that he had become one with the white spiritual thunder. His primordial spirit was strengthening at a terrifying speed. His aura was rising. Regardless of whether it was the aura of martial arts or talisman Taoism, it was rising violently. It seemed that Du Xiaofu could continue to break through in an extremely short period of time. Mysterious martial honored, mysterious 8-star talisman master and Du Xiaofu. Regardless of the size of his god's watchtower or the strength of his primordial spirit, if he wanted to continue breaking through, it was definitely not something that could be compared to the energy required by someone of the same cultivation level. However, at this moment, the energy that the white spiritual thunder could provide, regardless of whether it was qi or primordial spirit, was vast and boundless. It seemed to be endless. Unknowingly, in this strange space, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Boom! A vast amount of energy from heaven and earth permeated the void. In the end, it turned into a terrifying energy vortex and crazily surged into Du Xiaofu's body, who was sitting cross-legged. Could it be that he's going to break through again? Dongli Qingqing woke up and looked at the movement in the sky. Then she felt the rising aura from Du Xiaofu's body. Her eyes widened in shock as she looked at the scene in front of her in disbelief. After a few hours in the sky, where lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, starlight started to revolve. Purple flames filled the air and dazzling golden runes surged. At this moment, domineering energy fluctuated in the sky. It was like a vast ocean, like a golden rainbow across the sky. Boom! The surrounding space shook as if it had caused the heavens and earth to tremble. It was shocking. After 2 hours, Du Xiaofu's rising aura seemed to have reached a critical point. The aura that had been rising rapidly earlier also gradually stopped. Bang! However, in just a short moment, a low sound rang out from the god's watchtower in Du Xiaofu's body. The aura that had stopped around Du Xiaofu suddenly rose even more violently. Then, it stepped into a new realm, and a terrifying aura swept across the sky. Boom! At the same time, under Dongli Qingqing's shocked gaze, a second aura rose from Du Xiaofu's body and gathered the energy of heaven and earth. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's body was like a bottomless pit. Under the irrigation of the energy of heaven and earth, he was endlessly absorbing all the vast energy. He's a nirvana martial saint now. He's also making a breakthrough in the Tao of talismans. Dongli Qingqing looked at Du Xiaofu, who was floating in the air, from afar. Her eyes were filled with shock as she muttered, "Could he have fused with that spiritual lightning?" Boom! After another hour, the surging energy of heaven and earth in the surroundings started to disperse. At this moment, the second aura from Du Xiaofu's body had reached a new level. dazzling white divine light rippled with an ancient aura. Accompanied by silver lightning, everything gradually calmed down. Chi. When everything completely calmed down, the surroundings returned to normal. Du Xiaofu's eyelashes trembled slightly. His tightly shut eyes trembled slightly before suddenly opening. Within his eyes, two blazing bolts of purple gold lightning shot out. Chapter 1068. The purple gold lightning in his eyes shot up into the sky. Rumble! The lightning flashed and the space trembled violently. A terrifying thunder power filled the sky. After a while, the countless lightning flashes pierced through the space and disappeared. What a powerful aura! Dongli Qingqing stood up and looked at the man sitting cross-legged. Her eyes were filled with shock and then joy. Phew! His aura gradually calmed down. Du Xiaofu spat out a mouthful of turbid air from his abdomen, shaking the space. After that, Du Xiaofu peeked into his body. At this moment, his celestial qi was rolling like a vast ocean in the vast spirit watchtower. Compared to the mysterious martial honorable level, the celestial qi in his body and the aura on his body were many times stronger. It was as if his entire body had the power to destroy everything. Most importantly, in his primordial spirit in his Naiwen palace, Du Xiaofu could clearly feel that his illusory primordial spirit was now covered with a layer of silver lightning. Du Xiaofu knew that this was the original white spiritual thunder. Only Du Xiaofu knew that the last exceptionally bright white spiritual thunder was in his Naiwen palace. Its intelligence was destroyed by his spirit root. What was left was a pure spiritual thunder soul seed. In the end, it was also refined by the mysterious incomplete technique and integrated into his primordial spirit. A message also appeared in his primordial spirit. Silver net soul devouring lightning. Du Xiaofu muttered softly. This was the message he received from the last exceptionally bright white spiritual thunder soul seed. The last dazzling white thunderbolt was the spiritual thunderbolt's soul seed. It was like a person's primordial spirit. The silver net soul devouring lightning soul seed wanted to destroy Du Xiaofu's spirit root in order to survive. However, in the end, it was destroyed by Du Xiaofu's spirit root and erased its intelligence. Then, it merged with Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit. From the message in the silver net soul devouring lightning, Du Xiaofu knew that the silver net soul devouring lightning was the nemesis of all souls. It could devour all souls to strengthen itself and suppress the primordial spirit. Even the 8-star transcendent spirit talisman master of the devil religion could kill and devour primordial spirits. The silver net soul devouring lightning's primordial spirit was thunder soul seed. As long as the silver net soul devouring lightning was, it could destroy the primordial spirit without leaving a trace. Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit had fused with the soul seed of the silver net soul devouring lightning, and he seemed to have obtained this ability because of this. Lucky chance. My character is really good. Feeling everything in his body, Du Xiaofu smiled. Not to mention that he had obtained the most important spiritual thunder, his martial arts and talisman Taoism had also taken a step forward. Du Xiaofu knew very well that if he relied on his own cultivation to make a breakthrough, he would not know how long it would take. No matter how good his talent was, it would take him at least a year or even longer to devour more demonic beast essence blood and make demonic beast tonic soup, even in the desolate ancient space. At the original level of Mysterious Martial Venerable and 8-star Mysterious Spirit Talisman Master, the amount of energy needed to make a breakthrough was huge. It would take a long time just to accumulate energy through cultivation alone. You got the spiritual thunder? Dongli Qingqing's graceful figure came to Du Xiaofu's side and asked with a little surprise and joy. The silver net soul devouring lightning has been integrated into my primordial spirit. Du Xiaofu smiled and stood up. He stretched his body and the bones in his body wriggled and made cracking sounds. The light in his eyes disappeared and became clear again. You really got it. This is your lucky chance. Dongli Qingqing breathed a sigh of relief. Then she stared at Du Xiaofu and said in a reproachful tone, "Next time, don't do things that you are not sure of. This time, you almost lost your life. Do you know that? Aren't I still fine?" Du Xiaofu came to the side of the girl in front of him and grabbed her hands. Her hands were smooth and slender like jade glass. They were as smooth as mutton fat. He said softly, "You are my woman. If I can't even take care of you, I will be useless if I am alive." "Who is your woman? You have a glib tongue. What have you learned over the years?" Dongli Qingqing glared at Du Xiaofu, but her hands did not break free. A faint blush crept up her cheeks, adding a hint of charm to her shyness. She was like a fairy who had fallen into the mortal world and was reluctant to leave. "In the past, I didn't understand feelings. Now, I still don't dare to say that I understand. But we have already experienced life and death. We have gone through trials and tribulations together. This time, you and I meet again. It is fate. I don't know when you will leave. I just want to tell you that you are in my heart just like family." Du Xiaofu looked at the girl in front of him and said seriously, "If you treat me wholeheartedly, I will not forget you for the rest of my life." Looking at the purple-robed young man's resolute face, Dongli Qingqing's eyes rippled under his clear gaze. Her body trembled slightly, her heart beat faster, and her face became redder. "How much of your glib tongue should I believe?" Dongli Qingqing bit her teeth and said. She looked at Du Xiaofu with her rippling eyes. 10%. "I, Du Xiaofu, swear that if I let you down one day, I will definitely be shot by 10,000 arrows. You are not allowed to swear. It is inauspicious." Dongli Qingqing broke free from Du Xiaofu's hand and pressed it against Du Xiaofu's mouth. She smiled slightly and said, "I will believe you." Du Xiaofu held the slender hand that was holding the corner of his lips and gently placed it on his cheek, smiling happily. "Okay, we have already been delayed for 4 days. There seems to be a special seal in the space here. The situation outside should be rather complicated right now. We should go find little Qing and the others," said Dongli Qingqing. Du Xiaofu's expression changed slightly when little Qing and the others were mentioned. He said, "This is the breeding ground of the Silvernet soul-devouring lightning. It is difficult for outsiders to enter. Du Xiaoyao should be able to enter, but they didn't come to find me. I'm afraid that some trouble has really happened." Swish, swish. A moment later, 2 figures flew out of that space and appeared in midair. After looking around, they flew across the sky and left. The empty space was a mess. It was obvious that a great battle had taken place. White arcs of lightning occasionally flashed, and there were traces of lightning. Swish, swish. Dozens of figures descended upon the place. Waves of abnormally powerful auras rippled endlessly. Among the dozens of figures, most of them were dressed in black. Only their eyes could be seen outside the hood of their black robes. They were flickering with a sharp light, like ghosts. The first was a yellow-robed old man. His deep eyes seemed to be flickering with lightning, which was particularly eye-catching in the dark space. If Du Xiaofu was here, he would definitely recognize that this was an old acquaintance. It was the Yinlei elder of the devil religion. "Deputy Envoy, the Silvernet soul-devouring lightning has disappeared. From the life plate, all of our people who suppressed the Silvernet soul-devouring lightning have been killed." A black-robed man looked around and then returned to the Yinlei elder and said respectfully. The Yinlei elder's face was gloomy. A turbulent wave swept out from his body with faint arcs of lightning. Then his breathing stabilized. A sharp aura fluctuated, and a chill suddenly surged out from his eyes. He said, "The aura of the golden-winged rock. Du Xiaofu appeared nearby a few days ago. It must be Du Xiaofu's doing. Find him. This time, we must pay any price to find him. Use the thunder-seeking talisman. If the Silvernet soul-devouring lightning has been obtained by Du Xiaofu, you will definitely be able to find him." At night, the moon was dark and the stars were bright. Under the faint moonlight, a dark canyon was illuminated by the faint moonlight. The surroundings were hazy. An elf-like woman stood on a rock in the canyon. She looked dreamy, like a fairy goddess in the moonlight. The Tianhuang mainland is vast, and there are mysterious ancient formations left behind from ancient times. This is a barren land that not many people have set foot on. Chapter 1069. What are the 13 outstanding heroes? Du Xiaofu, who had originally wanted to find out more about Du Xiaoqing, Du Xiaoyao, and his drunkard father, was now curious about the 13 outstanding heroes. Hearing that the purple-robed young man before him was interested, the old man immediately became more enthusiastic. The 13 outstanding heroes are the titles given to 13 people of the younger generation in the entire Tianhuang mainland. There are a total of 13 of them, and they are the absolute peak existences of the younger generation above Kyushu. Who are the strongest of the younger generation above Kyushu? Du Xiaofu became more and more curious. They are Bailey Wuya of the Golden Spear sect in Ningzhou, Mu Jianxin of the Saman Sword sect in Shangzhou, Mu Qingge of the Thunder Fortress in Leizhou, Hua Zimo of the Hundred Flowers Gate in Wanzhou, Feng Wuxie of the Snow City in Yuzhou, Yujing Tongxian of the Heavenly Music sect in Yunzhou, Lian Wushang of the Holy Flame sect in Lanzhou, Dongli Qihuang of the Great Luan sect in Central Zhou, Demon King Du Xiaofu, Su Mayan of the Misty Clouds, Qin Devil Shangguan Qixin, and the last two are the 9th Prince of the Dragons, Dragon 9, and Huang Linger of the Phoenix race. The old man's eyes were filled with shock as he spoke. After he finished speaking in one breath, he paused for a moment before continuing. Among these 13 people, it is said that the strongest should be Dragon 9 of the Dragons and Huang Linger of the Phoenix race. They are publicly acknowledged as the 2 strongest people. The most ferocious is the Demon King Du Xiaofu. It is said that this person has the back of a tiger and the waist of a bear, and has fangs in his mouth. He is vicious and merciless, and likes to eat the flesh of demon beasts the most. He also seems to be related to the ancient heaven sect in Central Zhou. The most mysterious ones are Su Mayan of the Misty Clouds and the Qin Devil Shangguan Qixin. They are very mysterious, but their strength is indeed terrifying. A mouth full of fangs, a back of a tiger and a waist of a bear, this, Du Xiaofu smiled. He didn't expect himself to be as terrifying as the rumors said. Then, his expression changed slightly. He didn't expect Dongli Qihuang from the Great Luan sect to be among them. That guy was an expert from the Great Luan sect who was reincarnated using the reincarnation secret technique. His cultivation speed was definitely extremely fast. Hearing the rumors about the Demon King Du Xiaofu, Dongli Qingqing couldn't help but smile. The 13 godly heroes are only people in the current Tianhuang mainland. They are ranked based on the strength and reputation of the 13 people. Currently, there are even many demon beast cubs with ancient bloodlines in the beast region. It is said that not long ago, a yellow-striped heaven-shaking tiger was eaten alive by the Demon King Du Xiaofu. The strength of that yellow-striped heaven-shaking tiger shouldn't be any weaker than some of the 13 godly heroes. Perhaps, other than the 13 godly heroes, there are still some younger generation who are hiding their strength. However, their strength might not be any weaker than the 13 godly heroes. They only need to fight once and their names will spread throughout Kyushu. The old man continued. He had cultivated for hundreds of years and was only at the Nirvana realm of the Martial Emperor realm. Thinking about those younger generation who were already law-abiding cultivators at such a young age, it was definitely infuriating. That kind of talent was something that he couldn't compare to. Is there any news about Du Tingxian recently? Du Xiaofu asked directly. Du Tingxian, there seems to be news about him. It is said that not long ago, Du Tingxian was discovered near Thunder Rolling Mountain. After a big battle, he killed many people. It is said that he was also heavily injured and disappeared after that, the old man immediately said. Thunder Rolling Mountain. Hearing this, Du Xiaofu's eyes trembled and his heart tightened. There was finally news about his drunkard father, but it didn't seem optimistic. Is there any other special news? Du Xiaofu asked. He asked the old man about Du Xiaoqing and the others. He described Du Xiaoyao and Du Xiaoqing's appearances and tried to find out more about them. No, I haven't heard of them. The old man shook his head. He had never heard of them. Are we going to Thunder Rolling Mountain now? Dongli Qingqing came to Du Xiaofu's side. The hazy moonlight shrouded them, making them untainted by smoke and fire. She heard the old man say that Du Tingxian had appeared at Thunder Rolling Mountain and was heavily injured. She knew that Du Xiaofu would be worried. Yes, let's go to Thunder Rolling Mountain first. Du Xiaofu nodded to Dongli Qingqing. Now that there was news about his drunkard father, they naturally had to rush over first. As for Du Xiaoyao and Du Xiaoqing, they could only inquire about them along the way. Not good, there are experts. Suddenly, almost at the same time, as Du Xiaofu's voice fell, Dongli Qingqing and Du Xiaofu's eyes trembled at the same time. Both of them looked at the top of the canyon at the same time. Demon King, Du Xiaofu. There shouldn't be any mistake, right? It's really not easy to find you. A clear and somewhat enticing voice came from the top of the canyon. As the last word fell, a reddish-purple figure appeared in front of the three of them. It was a young man who looked to be in his late 20s. He had a smooth and fair face and a well-defined outline. The reddish-purple satin on his body made him appear elegant. At this moment, under the moonlight, a faint purple glow was reflected, making him look very beautiful. Especially under his long and curved eyelashes, there was a pair of eyes that were as clear as morning dew, carrying a faint charm. The charm in this man's eyes was not only able to charm all women, it even caused the hearts of men to fluctuate when they looked at him. What a powerful aura. He's a spirit symbol master. He's not below second martial uncle. An 8-star Nirvana stage spirit symbol master. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was astonished by the invisible aura on the young man's body. That aura made Du Xiaofu feel that it was not inferior to the aura of his second martial aunt, Fairy Yu. That was a terrifying spirit talisman master expert. From the looks of it, that youth was definitely not as young as his current appearance. That was a terrifying super expert. Du Xiaofu did not know if he was an enemy or a friend. We seem to be in some trouble. Dongli Qingqing gently approached Du Xiaofu. She also felt the aura on the young man's body. Her delicate face had an unprecedented solemn expression. At this moment, the old man's body was already trembling under that invisible aura. His soul and profound energy were both solidifying. The old man's gaze was even more shocked. He seemed to have already heard who the purple-robed young man was. Du Xiaofu, Demon King Du Xiaofu. It turned out that the purple-robed young man who had captured him to ask for information was actually the incomparably ferocious Demon King in the rumors. He did not have 3 heads and 6 arms, a tiger's back, a bear's waist, and fangs in his mouth like in the rumors. Instead, he was extremely resolute and handsome. Why are you looking for me? Du Xiaofu asked. His gaze was vigilant. An expert of this level was definitely a terrifying existence. It has nothing to do with others. You killed my people. I just want you to pay a price. It doesn't need to be too much. 1 life is enough. The young man said to Du Xiaofu. His voice was calm as his gaze swept across the 3 people. His hair was tied up high, and his long hair flowed down his back like flowing water. Then he looked at Dongli Qingqing and smiled, saying, "This beauty is not bad. Her aura is also extraordinary. She suits my taste. Why don't you come with me when the time comes? Your companion is about to die." The young man's smile seemed to have a kind of beauty that was not differentiated by gender. It had a soul-stirring charm. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu, Dongli Qingqing, and the old man all felt a terrifying chill. They could not help but shiver. Without any hesitation, Du Xiaofu's voice rang in Dongli Qingqing's ears. His figure immediately flew to the back. At the same time, golden light erupted from his back. The golden rock wings were activated, and a terrifying pressure rippled out. It was as if the real rock wings were flapping and flying away. Whoosh! Almost at the same time, Dongli Qingqing was also prepared to retreat. Green light erupted as she quickly left. Seeing the aura emitted from Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qingqing, a trace of astonishment flashed across the young man's eyes. Boom! However, at this moment, a surge of profound qi energy suddenly erupted from the young man's body. With a clench of his hand, spatial ripples rapidly surged in front of him. Dazzling mysterious runes spread out, and an invisible illusory claw print suddenly formed in the air. After which, the claw print directly pressed down on Du Xiaofu's back. As the claw print pressed down, Du Xiaofu immediately felt the entire space behind him freeze. That terrifying force swept down. His body felt like it was being crushed by 1,000,000 pounds of force. Even the golden rock wings were blocked. Du Xiaofu was already prepared. Escaping in front of such a super expert was definitely not a simple matter. A ray of light shot out, accompanied by a ghostly howl. Yun Mu had acted and directly blocked the terrifying claw print. Chapter 1070. What an extraordinary puppet! Is it related to Celestial Artifact Sect? The charming youth's voice still carried a kind of charm. His claw landed and exploded with dazzling runes, distorting space and directly slapping the cloud beast down, causing it to fall from the sky into the canyon. The youth's figure once again crossed space and appeared in front of Du Xiaofu like a ghost. He raised his dark purple sleeve slightly, and another claw mark pierced through space and appeared in front of Du Xiaofu. Clear demon subduing arrow. Behind Du Xiaofu, Dongli Qingqing's ancient bow appeared in her hands. She drew the bow and released 3 arrows in a row. The 3 energy arrows pierced through space and left behind 3 long spatial scars. Accompanied by a terrifying and mysterious aura, they instantly blocked the youth's claw mark. The charming youth's eyebrows rose abruptly when the 3 light arrows shot out. "Beauty, you don't seem to be simple. It looks like I have an unexpected gain today. Follow me from now on." Then, the charming youth's eyes had a smile and that genderless beauty. His claw mark changed, and with a shake of his hand, it turned into a runic palm mark. It distorted the air, and a dazzling light fell like the moon. Bare naked, the charming young man used his tyrannical cultivation base to destroy the 3 light arrows of Dong Li and Qing Qing into broken rune fragments. Boom boom boom. Terrifying energy swept out, and the canyon below collapsed continuously, stone fragments flying everywhere. Dongli Qingqing opened her mouth and spat out blood. Her body, which had not fully recovered from her injuries, was shaken back in midair. "Beauty, don't get hurt. I can't bear to do that." The charming youth spoke, his eyes looking at Dongli Qingqing. The expression in his eyes was as if she was already his exclusive property, and he would not allow anyone to taint her. His figure seemed to have given up on Du Xiaofu and directly rushed towards Dongli Qingqing. Wind and thunder resounded. In front of Du Xiaofu, purple gold light filled the sky. A broadsword with tiger bones and dragon bones appeared in his hand. It was like a phoenix facing the sun, like a divine turtle crouching on the ground. Swish! Du Xiaofu quickly slashed out with his sword without any fancy moves. It was just a simple slash. A purple gold sword ray shot out. Wherever the sword ray passed, the space seemed to collapse, revealing a vacuum. Within this sword light, a domineering aura that made people tremble violently spread out, causing the entire space to tremble violently. The bewitching young man, who was originally unmoved, also turned his head at this moment. His eyes contained a somewhat surprised expression. What a powerful divine weapon! What a domineering sword will! Despite having the cultivation of a nirvana martial revered, he possesses such strength. My men did not die in vain. The bewitching young man opened his mouth. Without any hesitation, a flowing light symbol shot out from his palm and swiftly collided with the purple gold sword glow that had spread in front of him. Voila! In such a collision, there was no muffled sound like thunder. There was only the terrifying energy that turned into ripples of qi and runes that suddenly swept out in the void like a tsunami. Monstrous energy instantly erupted and swept out in all directions. Accompanied by the shattering of countless sword lights, a large part of the canyon below was destroyed. Bang! The speed was too fast. It was so fast that Du Xiaofu did not have time to react. A palm print gently landed on his chest. A handsome face that was so beautiful that one could not tell its gender appeared in front of him. A low muffled sound suddenly came from his chest. A huge force swept out and surged into his chest. It was as if it wanted to destroy his internal organs. As his qi and blood surged, Du Xiaofu spat out a mouthful of pale golden blood. His body was directly shaken and sent flying. After a few dozen feet, the golden wings on his back flapped. Du Xiaofu stabilized his body. His face had turned pale and his golden eyes were filled with seriousness. It was also at this moment that Yun Mu, who had just fallen, soared into the sky again. Yun Mu, whose terrifying defense was enough to render an ordinary chaotic element revered martial revered powerless, did not suffer much damage from the charming young man's attack. As his body soared into the sky, he pounced towards the charming young man. "Let's go!" At the same time, Du Xiaofu's figure appeared beside Dongli Qingqing, who had just stabilized herself. He grabbed Dongli Qingqing's hand and the golden-winged great rock flapped its wings and quickly flew away. Facing such a terrifying expert, Du Xiaofu knew that he could only escape. In front of such an expert, he did not even have the chance to fight with his life on the line. There were simply too many enemies. Du Xiaofu did not even know who the other party was. "This puppet is a bit of a hindrance." The charming man frowned slightly, and there was slight anger on his face. Profound energy surged explosively within his body, and then it transformed into an enormous and fierce profound energy palm that flashed out. It was accompanied by vast pressure as it suddenly collided with Yun Mu's fist. Crack crack. The huge impact caused the void to tremble endlessly, as if it was about to shatter the heavens. The talisman arrays and runes on Yun Mu's body shattered and cracks appeared on his metallic body as he was forced to retreat. After forcing Yun Mu to retreat, the charming young man did not immediately chase after Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qingqing. Instead, he looked forward with his hands behind his back. His dark purple satin robe fluttered in the wind, and his hair fluttered gently. At this moment, Du Xiaofu, who had just fled with Dongli Qingqing, was retreating. Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qingqing both looked forward. Dozens of figures with fierce and powerful auras formed a semicircle and surrounded them. Their auras sealed the void and they could only retreat. There were many black-clothed people. Only their eyes were exposed and they were suffused with a frightening cold light. The leader was an old man in a yellow robe. His eyes flickered with lightning under the moonlight. An extremely powerful aura was released and the coldness in his eyes was terrifying as he locked onto Du Xiaofu. Devil religion, Old Man in Thunder. Du Xiaofu bit the corner of his lips that were stained with faint golden blood as he stared at the dozens of experts and Old Man in Thunder. "We seem to be in trouble." Dongli Qingqing bit her red lips with her silver teeth. Her expression was extremely serious. The hand that was held by Du Xiaofu was also tightly grasping Du Xiaofu's hand. Her eyes seemed to be filled with determination. Not necessarily. Maybe it's a good thing. The people of devil religion have appeared at this time. Judging from their lineup, they seem to have been prepared. Maybe it has something to do with the Silvernet soul-devouring lightning. Du Xiaofu's lips curved into a cold smile as he whispered to Dongli Qingqing. His face suddenly turned 180 degrees and a smile appeared on his face. He turned around and pulled Dongli Qingqing towards the charming young man. He opened his mouth and said happily, "Senior brother, our plan succeeded. The Silvernet soul-devouring lightning has indeed attracted them." Hearing this, the charming young man was stunned when he saw Du Xiaofu's malicious smile. At this time, the dozens of experts that appeared in front of him, especially the aura of the old man in the yellow robe, made the charming young man's eyes move slightly. "The Silvernet soul-devouring lightning is indeed in your hands. Kill them. Don't let any of them go." Old Man in Thunder's eyes flashed with a sinister light as he shouted coldly. Lightning flashed in his eyes. No matter what, he would not let Du Xiaofu go today. Boom! As soon as Old Man in Thunder's voice fell, dozens of experts of devil religion moved. Their aura burst out and they directly pounced on Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qingqing. The terrifying aura made the void tremble. Dominating sword wei. Sky-shaking wings. Du Xiaofu slashed out with his sword. The golden wings on his back flapped. Purple gold sword radiance and golden talisman mystic inscriptions burst out, shaking a large area of space behind him. Du Xiaofu took the opportunity to rush towards the charming young man. But Old Man in Thunder took action personally. His figure crossed the space. With a sweep of his sleeve, he destroyed Du Xiaofu's sword radiance and sky-shaking wings. Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qingqing rushed to the charming young man not far away. They looked at him and said with a smile, "Senior brother, they have arrived. I'll leave the rest to you." Old Man in Thunder noticed the charming young man and felt his aura. He paused for a moment. "I have nothing to do with them. I just want this kid's life. Since you want his life too, I'll leave it to you. But you have to leave the girl to me. What do you think? The charming young man looked at Old Man In Thunder and said with a faint smile. Okay, I'll leave the girl to you. Du Xiaofu is mine. Old Man In Thunder hesitated. He felt the aura of the charming young man and finally nodded gloomily. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's smiling face suddenly froze. Kid, you're too young to play tricks with me. I don't care who kills you in the end. The charming young man stared at Du Xiaofu as a faint smile of victory appeared in his clear dew-like eyes. Du Xiaofu's little tricks couldn't escape his eyes. How could he fall for it? Chapter 1071. Du Xiaofu looked around. He could only smile bitterly as he looked at the figures with powerful auras. The charming young man seemed to be more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. Kid, no one will be able to save you today. The enlightening old man's expression was gloomy as his eyes locked onto Du Xiaofu. Lightning aura fluctuated within his eyes as a thunderbolt rushed out from his palm. It was accompanied by a heart-palpitating destructive aura that surged into the sky, causing the entire space to tremble. The thunderbolt swept towards Du Xiaofu in the next instant. His first target was Du Xiaofu. Xiaoyang Seal. Du Xiaofu was naturally aware of the In Thunder old man's strength. His face turned gloomy as he pushed Dongli Qingqing away. A golden palm print broke through the air. Boom! The palm print collided with the thunderbolt. Terrifying electric arcs and golden energy ripples surged out in all directions. The ground of the mountain within a few thousand meters was blasted apart by the energy shockwaves, causing turbulent waves to form in the space. Boom! Boom! Terrifying electric arcs swept out as Du Xiaofu staggered and retreated dozens of feet. The profound qi in Du Xiaofu's body churned under the energy shockwaves. A muffled sound was emitted from his throat as he spat out pale golden blood again. Although the lightning martial vein in his body could absorb the power of the electric arcs, Du Xiaofu was clearly at a disadvantage from the In Thunder old man's attack. The In Thunder old man was too powerful. He was an expert comparable to Amethyst Venerable. The difference in their strength was too great. Du Xiaofu was helpless. He has reached the Nirvana Martial Venerable level. The In Thunder old man was shocked. Du Xiaofu was not a Martial Venerable not long ago. However, he had reached the Nirvana Martial Venerable level in such a short period of time. He had miscalculated when he attacked just now. This kind of terrifying breakthrough speed shocked the In Thunder old man. If this continued, it wouldn't be long before Du Xiaofu had the strength to match his cultivation. This terrifying growth speed made the In Thunder elder feel a lingering fear. How are you? Dongli Qingqing's graceful figure swept through the air and instantly appeared beside Du Xiaofu, who had been knocked back. If you don't leave, I might be able to escape. Don't worry about me. Du Xiaofu laughed bitterly. He held the purple gold heavenly fault in one hand and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with the other. His gaze was extremely serious. At this moment, they were already in a desperate situation. Du Xiaofu knew that even if he did his best, it would be useless. The purple thunder profound cauldron and the ancient desolate space would not be able to solve this problem. If you were me, would you leave? Dongli Qingqing looked at the pale young man in front of her and then looked around. Her gaze swept past the charming young man and the In Thunder elder. There were many mysterious black-clothed people around, all of whom had the aura of perfection and transcendence. She opened her pale lips slightly and said softly, "Besides, do you really think I can escape? This time I've dragged you into this." Looking at the woman in front of him, Du Xiaofu smiled bitterly, but the smile at the corner of his mouth was obviously a bit cruel. It was all because he wasn't strong enough. Facing the In Thunder elder and the charming young man, he couldn't even resist. Du Xiaofu yearned for strength, but compared to those cultivators who had cultivated for hundreds or even thousands of years, he was still far behind. He needed time to cultivate. Dongli Qingqing looked at the young man in front of her and took out a soft, light-colored handkerchief. She gently wiped the faint golden blood in his mouth and said in a reproachful tone, "I'm actually a bit angry. Next time, don't push me away. Even if we're going to die, let's die together." Du Xiaofu nodded and gently brushed away a strand of hair on the woman's forehead. His golden eyes were filled with a smile. He said softly, "Okay, even if we're going to die, let's die together." Not far away, the charming young man was still standing with his hands behind his back. He looked at the purple-robed young man and the fairy-like woman. Something seemed to be surging in the depths of his dewy eyes. He muttered softly, "In this world, there are really lovers who can't tell life and death apart. We've been through life and death together more than once. This time, of course, we'll be fine." Dongli Qingqing said softly. Her eyes were no longer as solemn as before. She transmitted her voice to Du Xiaofu's ears and said, "Xiaofu, leave everything to me. Listen to me. We'll definitely be able to escape this calamity." Du Xiaofu looked at Dongli Qingqing when he heard this. His eyes were filled with doubt. "You're about to die, yet you're still whispering sweet nothings. Once you fall into my hands, I'll definitely make you beg for death." The enlightening old man could no longer hold back. As soon as he finished speaking, he stomped his foot and shot towards Du Xiaofu. The profound qi in his body surged. Several bolts of lightning energy shot out and formed an extremely domineering attack that engulfed Du Xiaofu from all directions. The experts from the devil religion hovered in the air and sealed off the surrounding space. Now that another person had come to deal with Du Xiaofu, there would naturally be no problem. There was no need for them to interfere. At this moment, no one noticed that energy ripples had begun to appear behind the charming young man who stood with his hands behind his back. Formation flags were faintly condensing. Suddenly, the charming young man's eyes trembled as he stared at Dongli Qingqing. Just as the enlightening old man was about to devour her, a dazzling rune suddenly spread out in front of Dongli Qingqing. An extremely terrifying pressure immediately spread across the night sky. "My disciple isn't someone you can touch." Just as the lightning energy was about to engulf Du Xiaofu, a sharp voice suddenly rang out in the night sky. Shortly after, a figure slowly stepped out in front of Dongli Qingqing and floated in the air. As the figure stepped out of the space, the world seemed to have truly solidified. The energy of the world seemed to have come to a standstill. This sudden change naturally attracted everyone's attention. Even the enlightening old man's body paused. His heart immediately sank. Du Xiaofu was shocked as well. Afterwards, he saw an old woman who seemed to be in her 50s hovering in the air. Her back was slightly hunched, and her hair was mottled with white hair. She seemed rather old. "It's her." Du Xiaofu still remembered the old woman. He had seen her in the barbaric Beast Mountain range before. She had fought with the beautiful woman who had kidnapped him. Du Xiaofu still remembered the battle between the two terrifying experts. He could only look up to them with envy. He had secretly gritted his teeth and vowed that one day he would definitely become such an expert. He would be able to do whatever he wanted in the world. However, Du Xiaofu's eyes flickered as he looked at the old woman. He seemed to sense something amiss. The old woman's figure seemed to be the same as the martial domain realm expert who had attacked the Seven-Star Hall. It seemed to be an illusory body, but it also didn't seem to be. Du Xiaofu was certain that this was definitely not the old woman's original body. The old woman's figure appeared. She glanced indifferently at the thunderbolt attack that had attacked Du Xiaofu and softly said, "You are still a little lacking at the half-domain level. Your understanding of the lightning intent is also far from enough. You dare to touch my disciple with such a cultivation level? You are courting death." With that, the old woman shook her sleeve and a terrifying energy immediately gathered at lightning speed. With a rune in her palm, it formed a spinning energy vortex in front of her and destroyed the enlightening old man's attack. Whoosh! Afterwards, a slightly old hand pierced through space and landed on the enlightening old man's face. Slap. The hand landed on the enlightening old man's face with a crisp slap. Half of his face immediately swelled up. Teeth and blood flew out of his mouth. His body was sent flying. He couldn't resist at all. Oh no! The charming young man's expression changed. The dark purple figure didn't stop. He tore a spatial rift in front of him and rushed into it. "You'll have to pay the price if you want to leave." The old woman raised her eyes and a rune shot out. At this moment, Du Xiaofu didn't feel much joy from escaping a hopeless situation, only the desire for strength in his heart. Absolute strength was the way to solve all problems. They should have been blocked by my master's primordial spirit power, and may have been completely eliminated. Dongli Qingqing said. After using the power of her master's primordial spirit, she immediately left the battlefield with Du Xiaofu, so at this moment, she didn't know the final situation. Let's find a place to recuperate first. Du Xiaofu said. As long as they entered the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron, they wouldn't be afraid of being discovered by ordinary people. The most important thing now was to recover their peak strength. Qi. As Du Xiaofu's voice fell, the space above the cliff suddenly distorted, and a terrifying energy spread above their heads. Be careful! Du Xiaofu had just opened his mouth when his shoulders suddenly sank, and a dazzling energy pillar fell like a thunderbolt. Puff! A huge force rushed into the end, and Du Xiaofu's body immediately sank into the rock on the ground, and a large mouthful of pale golden blood spurted out from his mouth. Who are you? Dongli Qingqing shouted, and a strange hand seal instantly formed in her hand. At the same time, a dazzling green rune burst out from her body, and her slender hand blasted a palm print towards the sky. A deep sonic boom was emitted from the palm, and bang 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 continuously sounded in the sky. Chila. A palm print fell from the sky, and with some afterimages, it caused the sky to change color. A wave of runes permeated the sky, and instantly dyed the pre-dawn sky dazzling, and then landed on Dongli Qingqing's palm print. Dang dang. Dongli Qingqing's delicate body was forced back, and the palm print in her hand was easily destroyed. Blood once again flowed from the corner of her pale lips. Bang bang. Du Xiaofu's body sank into the rock on the ground, and a domineering and terrifying golden light erupted from his body. Suddenly, the surrounding ground cracked, and the rock exploded. Du Xiaofu gently stomped his feet, and his body soared into the sky. Chapter 1073. High up in the sky above the cliff, the energy of heaven and earth gathered silently. In an instant, the entire space froze. A majestic energy enveloped the space and suppressed Du Xiaofu's figure. Du Xiaofu's eyes were sharp. Starlight suddenly spread from his golden eyes. Voila! At dawn, there were still a few bright stars hanging in the sky. At this moment, they seemed to be attracted as well. Streaks of starlight fell from the sky and gathered continuously. Finally, they formed a vortex around Du Xiaofu's body. A colorful vortex of starlight spun. It was as bright and dazzling as the Milky Way. The energy became more and more vigorous. It was as if all the energy in this part of the world had been forcefully drawn and devoured. It wanted to tear apart the confinement of the surrounding space. I didn't expect you to have also comprehended the mysteries of the stars. A faint voice came from above the cliff. Then, a runic claw print shot out. This claw print was like a flame and carried dazzling runes. Wherever the runic claw print flew past, the space was directly distorted and compressed into an extremely obvious concave arc. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, this runic claw print instantly landed on the starlight vortex with the force of a thunderbolt. Chila. Within the colorful vortex of starlight, there was the sound of space being torn apart. The entire space immediately trembled. Streaks of dazzling starlight energy spread out rapidly. The dazzling light shot out and finally scattered around the vast cliff. Bang! Du Xiaofu's body shot out from midair and crashed into the cliff. He destroyed a piece of hard rock and turned it into fine powder. Large mouthfuls of pale golden blood flowed from his mouth. A streak of primordial spirit power can't save the two of you. That primordial spirit power should have dissipated long ago. Her voice rang out, filled with charm. As the last word faded, a purplish figure also appeared above the cliff. An aura that caused the air to solidify enveloped the surroundings. It was none other than the charming young man who had appeared before. He had returned and chased after Qin Wenin again. It's him. Du Xiaofu's gaze immediately turned extremely solemn as he gazed at the charming young man. He never expected that the person who had caught up to him would be such a terrifying expert. However, from the aura, the charming young man seemed to have suffered a serious injury. Perhaps he had suffered a great loss under the power of Dongli Qingqing's master's Yuan spirit. Is today really a tribulation? Du Xiaofu's expression was solemn. He knew that he had no chance of contending against the charming young man. Even if this charming young man was already injured and could activate the last of the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron, it would be useless. Now that he had exhausted all his energy, whether or not he could activate the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron was a problem. Yun Mu was also heavily injured. The talisman arrays inscribed on his body were broken, and his body was cracked. His strength was greatly reduced, and he could no longer display any strength. Do you think you can escape? The charming young man smiled and said indifferently, I left traces in my attack. No matter where you run, you won't be able to escape my detection. That streak of primordial spirit power has already dissipated. Now, you don't have any more trump cards, right? I think that with your current cultivation, you haven't reached the domain realm yet. My master's primordial spirit power has dissipated, and her main body is naturally on the way here. If you dare to attack us, my master will definitely not let you off. Dongli Qingqing spoke. She looked at the charming young man, and her eyes were suffused with a green light. Hearing this, the charming young man raised his eyebrows. He was indeed extremely fearful. The old woman's primordial spirit power already possessed such terrifying strength. One could imagine how powerful her main body was. This woman had such a master, and the aura on her body was definitely extraordinary. It was very likely that there was a force behind her that he could not contend against. Suddenly, the charming young man laughed. His smile was enough to make the hearts of all the women in the world ripple. He looked at Dongli Qingqing and said, Little girl, you seem to be lacking in your ability to lie. Your master's main body probably can't reach Tianhuang mainland in a short period of time. Furthermore, not everyone can attack as they wish on Tianhuang mainland now. He paused for a moment, and the charming young man's dew-like clear eyes shifted. He looked at Dongli Qingqing evilly and said, Besides, I only want to kill that Du Xiaofu. As for a beauty like you, I can't bear to kill you. Once you become my woman, you will naturally know how good I am. By then, you won't be able to bear to let your master kill me. I'm afraid that's not enough to take my life. Du Xiaofu crawled out from the powder of the rocks. His aura was weak, and he activated the golden rock wings on his back once again. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, and his smile was somewhat sinister as he stared fixedly at the charming young man. You're no match for me at all. Even if you have someone backing you, no one will know if I kill you now. No one will know that I'm the one who did it. The charming young man glanced at Du Xiaofu with a faint smile on his face. Then, his gaze landed on the golden rock wings on Du Xiaofu's back. That domineering and intimidating pressure was the aura of a supreme beast. The charming young man had returned for Du Xiaofu. Originally, he had not really wanted to let go of Du Xiaofu because of the mysterious group of people. However, just as he was about to attack, the beautiful woman had exceeded his expectations and used a terrifying primordial spirit power. Under the attack of the primordial spirit power, the charming young man was severely injured and chose to retreat. However, the charming young man did not retreat too far. He knew that when the sandpiper and the clam fought, the fisherman would benefit. He also knew that the primordial spirit power could not be maintained for long. Originally, he had also left traces of his aura on Du Xiaofu's body, so it was not difficult to track him down. All of this was because the charming young man recognized the golden rock wings on Du Xiaofu's back. Those were the real golden rock wings. Also, the broadsword in Du Xiaofu's hand was a divine weapon. It was definitely a mid-grade weapon, or even a high-grade weapon. The charming young man stared at Du Xiaofu. How could he give up on the true golden wings of a great rock and that divine weapon? Even if there was a terrifying power behind this young woman, he wouldn't give up so easily. To him, if he could obtain the divine weapon and the golden rock wings, everything would be worth it. This person is very scheming. It's difficult to deal with him. Du Xiaofu frowned. This charming young man was definitely a terrifying person. Not only was his strength terrifying, but his scheming was even more terrifying. The charming young man made his move. This place was not suitable for him to stay for long. The corners of his mouth curled up into a smile as he soared through the air. In the distorted space, there was a majestic pressure that directly enveloped Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qingqing. Boom! Du Xiaofu would not allow himself to be captured without putting up a fight. He still had his meridian spirit and the thunder martial vein. He had not reached the point where he could be captured without putting up a fight. A terrifying and overbearing qi spread out as the golden rock wings enveloped him and Dongli Qingqing. It's really the real golden rock wings. It can actually fuse with humans. It seems like I have to study you first. The charming young man's eyes were filled with curiosity. At the same time, a majestic amount of runes burst out and directly crushed Du Xiaofu's golden rock wings. Bang, bang, bang. The golden light collided with each other. In the midst of the sound of the explosion, the surrounding space began to explode. Du Xiaofu's golden rock wings resisted the attack. However, under the impact of the monstrous force, a violent energy that was beyond what he could withstand surged into his body like a tidal wave. In almost an instant, his 5 viscera and 6 bowels suffered a huge impact. The terrifying energy exceeded Du Xiaofu's expectations. At this moment, Du Xiaofu realized that the charming young man's previous attack was only a test. This was his true strength. Pucci! Even with an extremely abnormal defense, it was still unable to withstand the impact of the young man's strength. Du Xiaofu directly spat out blood from his mouth. The golden rock wings had no choice but to be crushed. Dongli Qingqing, who was enveloped by the golden rock wings, had to withstand much less force than Du Xiaofu. However, dark red blood still spilled out of her mouth. At the same time, when Du Xiaofu's golden rock wings spread out, several runes and seals had already landed on the two of them. The two of them were immediately restricted and could no longer move. I've said that your strength is not enough. After the charming young man finished speaking, he grabbed Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qingqing. The aura around him distorted the void and his figure immediately flew into the distance. Chapter 1074. In a vast mountain range, a dark purple figure appeared and entered the mountains. In a natural cave, the charming young man put down Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qingqing. Then he formed a seal between his hands and set up a restriction seal at the entrance of the cave. Instantly, the entrance of the cave disappeared. Then, the charming young man turned around and looked at Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qingqing, who were under the restriction, and smiled faintly. However, the young man's face was extremely pale at this moment. It seemed that he had been injured by the power of Dongli Qingqing's master's primordial spirit. His injuries were definitely not light. He's also a talisman formation master and cultivates both martial arts and talisman techniques. Although Du Xiaofu was under the restriction, he was a little surprised to see the charming young man who was unaware of the restriction seal just now. From the way the young man's hand formed the restriction seal, Du Xiaofu felt that the charming young man should have done quite a bit of research on talisman formations. It was different from the seals and restrictions set up by ordinary cultivators. What the charming young man had set up outside the cave just now was clearly not a weak concealment talisman formation. It could hide the surroundings. Although he was restricted, Du Xiaofu did not stop thinking. His mind was thinking of all sorts of ways to get out of danger. However, the golden winged rocks technique could not easily undo the restriction. The restriction seal set up by the charming young man was also not something that Du Xiaofu could forcefully break through with his current cultivation level. With his body sealed, Lu Xiaofu thought to himself. He did not expect to end up in the hands of the charming young man this time. Fortunately, it was better than ending up in the hands of the devil religion. However, this was definitely not better for long. What, you want to escape? I'm afraid you can't break through the restriction seal I set up. It's fine if I let you live for a few more days. The charming young man looked at Du Xiaofu as if he could see through Du Xiaofu's thoughts. However, he did not care. He reached out his hand and searched Du Xiaofu's clothes for a while. Then, he took the few Qingkuan bags on Du Xiaofu's body. Du Xiaofu's heart ached. Those were the many benefits he had plundered along the way. Among them were the blood and bones of many demonic beasts on the heavenly beast ranking. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu was so heartbroken that he could not speak. Compared to that, it was more important for him to think of a way to escape. After putting away the Qiankuan bags, the charming young man was not in a hurry to open the restriction. After that, he walked over to Dongli Qingqing, who was leaning against the stone wall. At this moment, Du Xiaofu knew that the charming young man was making use of the time to recover from his injuries. There should be someone he had to be wary of. To Du Xiaofu, his current situation was much more troublesome. Even if he could destroy the seal on his body in time, he still had to face the charming young man who he could not defeat at all. He also had to be wary of the devil religion. Du Xiaofu did not know how he had provoked the powerful and terrifying charming young man. A large number of experts from the devil religion had also appeared on Tianhuang mainland. Danger lurked everywhere. He was now in a desperate situation. However, at the thought that he had obtained the silver net soul-devouring thunder that the devil religion wanted, he could imagine that the devil religion would be furious this time. This made Du Xiaofu feel that he had obtained interest. Destroy the seal and escape from the current danger first. After laughing bitterly in his heart, Du Xiaofu muttered to himself. He had to destroy the seal on his body as soon as possible. Otherwise, once the charming young man finished his breathing, he would be in real danger and would not have any more chances. The thunder martial vein covered his body silently. The seal that the charming young man had set up was slowly being undone. Du Xiaofu was pleasantly surprised that the thunder martial vein had such a function. Du Xiaofu now needed time. As long as he had enough time, he would definitely be able to undo the seal. Du Xiaofu was also worried. If the charming young man took the time to adjust his breathing before he undid the restriction, then he would be in deep trouble. Drip, 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 time passed slowly. Only the sound of water dripping could be heard in the cave. The charming young man was surrounded by a rune halo. His aura fluctuated and was very vigorous. Another day passed and Tianhuang mainland was shrouded in moonlight. Under the faint moonlight, dozens of figures streaked across the night sky and finally landed on a cliff. Du Xiaofu, wait until I capture you. I'll make sure you beg for death, beg for life. Under the night sky, the Yin Thunder old man had blood at the corner of his mouth. Lightning flashed in his eyes and a monstrous coldness spread. The Yin Thunder old man didn't expect that Du Xiaofu would be able to escape in front of him again and that she would be seriously injured. Deputy, the thunder-seeking divine talisman is gone. How do we find Du Xiaofu? A black-clothed old man asked. He was also covered in wounds. However, he knew that if he could not find Du Xiaofu and get the silver-sifting soul-devouring lightning back, he would suffer a miserable fate. Therefore, he had to delay his treatment. Continue to search. They are injured and will not run far. Even if we have to search the entire area, we must find that little bastard. The Yin Thunder old man was furious. He regretted that he did not go all out after finding Du Xiaofu. He should have killed him first and let the unforeseen event happen in the end. Therefore, the Yin Thunder old man had already decided that as long as he found Du Xiaofu again, he would kill him as soon as possible. There could not be any more accidents. However, the Yin Thunder old man still had some lingering fear in his eyes when he thought of the old woman formed by the power of the origin spirit. The old woman's strength was too terrifying. The Yin Thunder old man felt that if the old woman wanted to kill him with the power of the origin spirit, he would be like an ant without much resistance. Time passed slowly. When Du Xiaofu estimated that 12 to 14 hours had passed, the seal on his body was finally completely destroyed by the destruction of the thunder martial vein. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was not happy at all. He did not dare to show any aura fluctuation. Turning his eyes, Du Xiaofu looked at Dongli Qingqing. At this moment, Dongli Qingqing's eyes were still slightly closed. Du Xiaofu guessed that Dongli Qingqing should have some means or secret method to break the seal on her body. However, he was one step ahead with the help of the thunder martial vein. At this moment, Du Xiaofu knew that he could only wait. He had to wait for the best time to escape from the hands of the charming young man. However, now was definitely not the best time. Du Xiaofu waited and stood still. This kind of endurance was naturally not a problem for Du Xiaofu, who could stand in front of the ancient stone tablet for half a month in the stone city. He had already honed his amazing endurance. Hula. Finally, the rune halo on the charming young man's body began to converge. It was like a small light beam pouring into his body from the outside, causing the space in the cave to fluctuate. Phew! The charming young man opened his tightly closed eyes. His dewy eyes flashed and he exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. The charming young man stood up and stretched. Then he looked at Du Xiaofu. His pale face had taken enough elixirs. After breathing and adjusting his breath, he had become much rosier. His handsome face revealed a kind of genderless beauty, which was enough to make men take a few more glances. At this moment, the motionless Du Xiaofu's heart suddenly trembled. His heart suddenly tensed up. Chapter 1075. Brat, you shouldn't have killed my people. Otherwise, seeing that you dared to provoke anyone and have some guts, I could have spared your life. However, you killed my people, so I have no choice but to kill you. The charming young man looked at Du Xiaofu, his dewy eyes unwavering as he slowly walked closer. Du Xiaofu looked at the charming young man in front of him. He didn't know why, but he felt that this charming young man had a temperament that could easily mesmerize even men. That kind of genderless beauty and shapeless charm was simply natural. However, Du Xiaofu also knew that although this charming young man looked young, he was definitely an old monster. Of course, Du Xiaofu didn't have the time to think about this right now. His mind was tense. This was a matter of life and death. He was like a hunting eagle waiting for the final strike. The charming young man walked closer to Du Xiaofu and smiled slightly, making his genderless beauty seem natural. He said to Du Xiaofu, "You're about to die. This beauty can follow me without worry in the future. I will make her a real woman. I will definitely love her dearly. Come closer, come closer." Du Xiaofu thought in his heart. However, his body didn't move at all. He didn't release any aura, waiting for the best opportunity to strike. This was his last chance. He could only succeed. There would definitely not be a second chance. Alright, let me see what's so special about you that you can merge with the golden rock wings so naturally. The charming young man stood in front of Du Xiaofu. He was curious about the golden rock wings. For a human to merge with the golden rock wings like that was definitely not an easy task. It might even be an impossible task. However, this Du Xiaofu in front of him had done it. This made the charming young man very curious. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying aura burst out from behind the charming young man. A powerful vitality energy condensed rapidly, and the surrounding space in the cave shook and distorted. A huge space ripple appeared, and it was as if a wave was rolling over and over. In the blink of an eye, a green pillar of light shot out, bringing with it an aura that caused one's heart to palpitate. It gave off a terrifying pressure as it shot towards the charming young man. The charming young man abruptly turned his head and revealed a look of surprise. A green light beam had already shot over at lightning speed. A blurry figure appeared within the light beam. The figure was curvaceous and exquisite. Her hair fluttered in the wind, bringing with it an absolute pressure. At this moment, the entire cave was trembling under this powerful aura. It shook one's soul, and there was even an aura that made one's soul and body tremble. This aura silently spread throughout the cave, permeating through every nook and cranny. You can actually break through the seal. The charming young man immediately took action to defend himself. A terrifying rune light shot out and appeared to be in a panic. In the end, the rune turned into a light that enveloped the surroundings and defended against the green light pillar. Boom! The collision of energy caused the entire cave to tremble. Cracks spread out from the surrounding rocks. At this moment, if it wasn't for the fact that the charming young man had already set up a seal in the cave, the entire cave would have been razed to the ground. Du Xiaofu's eyes moved at this moment. He raised his head and looked at the beautiful figure within the green light beam. It was Dongli Qingqing. She had also secretly broken through the seal and was enduring. At this moment, a wave of pressure came from Dongli Qingqing's body. It was as if a dam had been opened, causing Du Xiaofu's lightning martial vein to be affected. The pressure came from the soul and could cause one's blood to go berserk. However, Dong Liqingqing's sudden attack was still unable to do anything to the charming young man. Under the protection of the rune light screen, it was able to resist the terrifying pressure. "Beauty, give up. You are not my opponent." The charming young man calmed down in the midst of the sudden change. He resisted Dong Liqingqing's terrifying energy that could devour vitality and began to counterattack. Dong Liqingqing didn't say anything. Her eyes were sharp. She was surrounded by a light pillar and her hands were constantly forming seals. Silently, a huge wave of vitality spread out. Pivot. Suddenly, Dong Liqingqing spat out a mouthful of blood essence. As the rune seals formed, it turned into a rune blood arrow and instantly shot into the space between her eyebrows. Boom! As the blood arrow shot into the space between her eyebrows, Dong Liqingqing's body suddenly trembled. It was as if her body had been absorbed by a surging wave of energy. The wave of vitality that spread out from her delicate body formed a dazzling green rune vortex around Dong Liqingqing's delicate body at an absolutely terrifying speed. The pressure grew stronger and stronger, creating a huge wave in the air. It was as if a wave was rolling over and over. Outside the cave, the restrictive seal that the charming young man had set up also began to loosen. Waves of vitality from the energy of heaven and earth seeped in and poured into the green light pillar. In the end, it connected with Dong Liqingqing's beautiful figure. In the next moment, a wave of energy rose from within Dong Liqingqing's graceful body. It rose like a rocket, causing the charming young man's expression to change greatly. "She's breaking through to the peak of the martial honor realm. What is this woman's identity?" The charming young man, Chao Lu, was shocked. At this moment, Dong Liqingqing's terrifying aura was devouring the vitality of all living things. It caused his primordial spirit, the profound energy in his body, and even his blood to boil. He was afraid that if he was slightly weaker, he would not be able to stop himself from prostrating. Under that terrifying pressure, Dong Liqingqing's power was clearly not as strong as the former's. However, under that pressure, the charming young man was unable to resist Dong Liqingqing's breakthrough. That pressure came from heaven and earth, soul and blood. It was unstoppable. Boom! After a moment, Dong Liqingqing's aura directly stepped into the peak of the martial honor realm. Dong Liqingqing was already at the peak of the nirvana martial honor realm. Recently, she had obtained many benefits. Everything was already a matter of course. However, Dong Liqingqing's strength and aura were still rising after reaching the peak of the martial venerable realm. The vitality of the heavens and earth in the surroundings seeped into the cave from the cracks of the restrictive seal. "Don't tell me she's going to break through again." The charming young man was stunned. After stepping into the peak of the martial honor realm, the beautiful woman's aura was still rising. This was too terrifying. The terrifying pressure of life was still growing stronger. The surging vitality of heaven and earth gathered in the green light pillar around Dong Liqingqing's body. The aura that made one's heart palpitate whistled and the terrifying pressure was endless. Whoosh whoosh! Dong Li's green hair fluttered under the boundless life energy of heaven and earth. Inside the whirlpool of life energy, which was like a storm, her beautiful elf face was red and ferocious. Her eyes shone with a frightening green light. She was like an elf goddess who was in the process of becoming a demonic Shura. At this moment, Dong Liqingqing seemed to be enduring a shocking pain. Her beautiful face became more and more hideous. However, her aura continued to rise. It continued to rise. At this moment, Dong Liqingqing's rising aura was like a flying sword. It was like a torrential flood that could not be controlled. The charming young man's gaze changed. At this moment, as the beautiful woman continued to grow stronger, the vitality in his body was unexpectedly being devoured. Along with the power of heaven and earth, it made him panic even when he tried to stop it with all his might. Everything did not last long. The cave finally welcomed the most violent energy storm. With a terrifying force, it surged into Dong Liqingqing's body, causing Dong Liqingqing to raise her head and cry out in pain. "Ah!" This cry was like a sudden clap of thunder. The sound penetrated the space, pierced through gold and jade, as if it could break open space. A strange and rich life force spread out from his voice. It also contained a kind of pressure that one could not resist. Boom! However, at this moment, another terrifying and powerful aura suddenly surged out from Dongli Qingqing's body. Chapter 1076. This scene completely stunned the charming young man. Transcendent Martial Honorable. Du Xiaofu was also stunned. At this moment, he could clearly feel that Dongli Qingqing's cultivation aura had already reached the Transcendent Martial Honorable level. Most importantly, Dongli Qingqing's aura had an additional terrifying pressure. That pressure came from the heavens and earth, from her bloodline, and was naturally integrated with her body. At this moment, the lightning martial vein and the purple lightning profound cauldron in his body were resisting the pressure. This also caused Du Xiaofu to be shocked to feel that the profound qi in his body actually showed signs of stopping. A kind of involuntary reverence also spread out from the depths of his Yuan spirit. It was reverence for a king. In the cave, Dongli Qingqing's beautiful figure floated. At this moment her entire body was emitting a kind of natural noble aura. Her beautiful face was like that of a fairy, and she was like an otherworldly fairy. So what if you are at the peak of the Nirvana realm? Dongli Qingqing moved. Her noble aura started to become fierce, and a green light shot out from the depths of her eyes. An extremely tyrannical pressure instantly spread out from her body. Immediately, the profound qi in her body, accompanied by the terrifying life force, poured out like a flood. Boom! A dazzling green light appeared. Everything happened in a flash. Dongli Qingqing's green hand slapped out, and suddenly, it fiercely suppressed the charming young man. Where did this woman come from? Feeling that terrifying aura, the charming young man's face instantly revealed an expression of absolute shock. Under that terrifying pressure, the charming young man's strength was definitely greatly affected. However, at the same time, his hands moved, and afterimages of hand seals appeared. As the charming young man formed a seal with his hands, the space in the cave froze. A monstrous aura spread out from his purplish-red robes as he collided with a palm print. All of a sudden, the two palms violently collided with each other. Boom! Monstrous runes collapsed in the cave. At the level where the two palm seals collided, a dazzling rune radiance shot out. Dang dang! Dongli Qingqing's delicate body was directly pushed back. Even though she had already stepped into the transcendent martial honorable level, she was still at a disadvantage. However, under the pressure of the terrifying life force, Dongli Qingqing was able to suppress the charming young man quite a bit. She was no longer as helpless as before when facing the charming young man. Dang! The charming young man at this moment he could no longer remain calm. And Dongli Qingqing's cloud. Waves of extremely terrifying energy storms instantly swept out in all directions. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The terrifying energy shook the cave and the cracks spread out once again. Huge rocks fell and the entire cave seemed like it would collapse at any moment. Humph! After blocking the third energy arrow, the charming young man finally let out a muffled sound from his throat. The life force pressure and his heavy injuries had yet to recover. Dongli Qingqing's 3 arrows had caused the charming young man's xian qi to become chaotic. A sweet taste surged up his throat and a stream of red blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Qi! Du Xiaofu appeared again. When he appeared beside the charming young man, a special rune light appeared in his eyes. This rune light seemed to have many similarities with the mysterious soul eyes. They came from the same source and came from the same source. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was activating the Sumeru illusory realm. It was one of his brother Zhen Qingquan's trump cards. It was also the upgraded version of the mysterious soul eyes. However, compared to the mysterious soul eyes, it was many times more powerful. It could make people unknowingly fall into an illusory realm. You're not strong enough to use an illusory realm in front of me. The charming young man's face darkened. Then, a dazzling rune spread out in his eyes. It was as if he was channeling the power of heaven and earth. An invisible aura directly hit Du Xiaofu's Sumeru illusory realm. The dazzling rune spread out. In a short stalemate, it pushed back Du Xiaofu's Sumeru illusory realm and then destroyed it. a semi-region spiritual talisman master. His talisman Dao is stronger than his martial Dao. He is also an expert in illusory realms. At this moment, Du Xiaofu finally knew that the charming young man who cultivated both martial Dao and talisman Dao was the strongest in both talisman Dao and illusory realms. Then, Du Xiaofu's dazzling rune eyes began to become dull. It was as if he had involuntarily fallen into some kind of illusory realm. Qi! At the same time, Dongli Qingqing's eyes rippled. She saw that Du Xiaofu had also broken through the restriction and attacked again. Her delicate body once again pounced on the charming young man. Dongli Qingqing knew that she only had one chance. Otherwise, she would be in a desperate situation. She had to give it her all, regardless of the consequences. You made me use my real strength. You really shocked me. The charming young man felt Dongli Qingqing's attack, but he did not turn back. He slightly raised his eyes. Runes spread out in his dewy eyes. They soared into the sky and filled the entire cave. Dongli Qingqing's figure swept over, but the charming young man had already disappeared silently. A strange rune light spread out and swept into Dongli Qingqing's eyes. Not good. Dongli Qingqing's heart sank. A green light tried to resist the strange rune light. The two were in a deadlock. Then, Dongli Qingqing sat down cross-legged. A layer of green rune light enveloped her body as if it could protect her. Rumble! Du Xiaofu appeared in a vast mountain range with a dull look in his eyes. In front of him, there was an intense muffled sound of energy. The sound waves were earth-shattering, and bright runes soared into the sky. Countless experts were besieging a middle-aged man with a heroic aura. The heroic middle-aged man was dripping with blood. His hair was messy. One man could hold back 10,000 men. He was fighting in all directions. How domineering! Father! Du Xiaofu's eyes trembled. The thing he was most worried about had happened. The heroic middle-aged man was his drunkard father whom he had been searching for. At this moment, he was being besieged by countless experts. Xiaofu, you're here. Du Tingxian killed in all directions. He retreated as he fought. Then he came to Du Xiaofu's side. His body was dripping with blood, but there was a smile in his eyes. It's fake. This is an illusion. At this moment, in Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit, a silver arc of lightning suddenly spread out from the illusory primordial spirit body in his mind. Almost at the same time, a talisman appeared in Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace. His spirit root appeared, and Du Xiaofu's mind immediately became clear. Break for me! Du Xiaofu shouted. A stream of energy suddenly fell on the body of Du Tingxian in front of him, destroying his body. The illusion in front of him also began to fade. At this moment, the charming young man who had just disappeared reappeared in the cave. His face had turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. How can a primordial spirit be so strong? The mysterious group of people who came yesterday seemed to have mentioned the silver sieve soul-devouring lightning. It was a terrifying spiritual thunder. It was said that the silver sieve soul-devouring lightning could suppress and devour primordial spirits. It was the nemesis of primordial spirits. It was very similar to the lightning aura in Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace. It seemed that Du Xiaofu had the terrifying silver sieve soul-devouring lightning. This is bad. We are in trouble. The charming young man was shocked. He no longer held back and activated the spiritual root in his body. The talisman light was densely covered and a surge of spiritual root aura that was definitely at the level of a human supremacy erupted. He wanted to free the primordial spirit from Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace. Boom! In Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace, the spiritual root felt the spiritual root aura that was released by the former. A terrifying pressure was released as if a supreme being was releasing it. It directly suppressed the spiritual root aura of the former. How can there be such a strong spiritual root aura? It has exceeded the level of a human supremacy. The charming young man spat out another mouthful of blood. However, he had no choice but to continue trying his best to free himself. The primordial spirit of the charming young man was not separated. It was connected to his own primordial spirit. If there was a problem with his primordial spirit, the consequences would be unimaginable. The charming young man probably never expected that so many unforeseen events would occur in front of these two young men and woman who were clearly only at the nirvana-revered realm. At this moment, he had even fallen into a dangerous situation. In Du Xiaofu's mind, the silver sieve soul-devouring lightning and the spiritual root released a terrifying aura at the same time. It suppressed the primordial spirit of the charming young man and slowly devoured it. The former was unable to free himself. However, the charming young man's cultivation was at the level of a half-domain. It was definitely not something that Du Xiaofu could do anything about. The primordial spirit of a half-domain cultivator was not something that Du Xiaofu could devour as he wished with his current cultivation. If Du Xiaofu had obtained the complete silver sieve soul-devouring lightning back then, he might have had a chance to devour the primordial spirit of the charming young man. However, Du Xiaofu had only obtained the soul seed of the silver sieve soul-devouring lightning. Most of the silver sieve soul-devouring lightning's energy had been devoured by the purple lightning profound cauldron. In the cave, the final confrontation had already reached the stage of a confrontation between primordial spirits. Du Xiaofu and the charming young man were in a deadlock. Both of them were starting to find it more and more strenuous. After an unknown period of time, Du Xiaofu's gaze turned sluggish. The charming young man was unable to free himself from this deadlock. However, it caused Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit to fluctuate. He was gradually losing control of the original illusion. The illusion felt more and more real. In the illusion, Ouyang Shuang, Zhu Shui, Qi Yishi, and the other extremely beautiful faces kept appearing before Du Xiaofu. The 5 women started to undress. They were extremely flirtatious and charming. Their alluring bodies appeared before Du Xiaofu's eyes like white jade. Du Xiaofu was finally completely immersed. As a hot-blooded young man, it was difficult for him to resist this illusion. He appeared in the room and started to walk towards the 5 charming women. In the cave, the charming young man's dewy eyes started to blur. He saw Du Xiaofu walking towards him with bloodshot eyes. "No, Brett. Wake up." The charming young man shouted. He tried his best to maintain his last bit of consciousness. He knew that Du Xiaofu had already fallen into the illusion he had set up. This was the method of the Hehuan school. It was a terrifying illusion technique. It involved the love between a man and a woman. It was difficult for people to escape from it. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was deeply immersed. The charming young man was very clear about the consequences. He was also affected. His primordial spirit was being forcefully devoured by the silver net soul-devouring lightning. Although it hadn't devoured much, it was still connected to Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit. Thus, when Du Xiaofu fell into the illusion, the charming young man couldn't escape either. He began to suffer from qi deviation and was about to fall into the illusion as well. Du Xiaofu approached the charming young man. His eyes became more and more blurry. "Damn it, don't, peef," the charming young man spat out blood once more. His voice became softer and softer. In the end, his eyes became completely blurry. In the end, the charming young man involuntarily began to walk towards the purple-robed young man. His hair fell behind his back, making his face, which was difficult to distinguish his gender, even more charming. The charming young man's Adam's apple slowly disappeared. His purple satin robe slowly slid down, revealing a close-fitting dress. It was a graceful and exquisite body. This charming young man wasn't a man at all. He was clearly a woman. A beautiful woman disguised as a man. Her hair fell behind her back. The woman's beautiful face was comparable to Dongli Qingqing and Qi Yishi. Her eyes were blurry and her seductive appearance was enough to seduce all living things. "I want you." Du Xiaofu tightly hugged the woman in front of him. His eyes were red and his body was burning. He lowered his head and kissed her. "Want?" The woman's breath was weak. It seemed that there was still a trace of clarity left. However, it was useless. She could feel that the purple-robed young man's lips had already landed on her blood-stained lips. Waves surged over, making their bodies go limp. After an unknown period of time, the 3 of them fainted in the surging waves at the same time. The scene in the cave was covered by the seal that was still there although it was cracked. No one was fated to see such a beautiful scene. On Tianhuang mainland, all the people were approaching Thunder Rolling Mountain. There was a sea of people around Thunder Rolling Mountain. Look, Du Tingxian is nearby. Du Tingxian has something related to the Divine Thunder residence. Whoever gets it will have the advantage and become an unparalleled expert above Kyushu. Everyone around Thunder Rolling Mountain was searching for Du Tingxian. They were digging 3 feet into the ground to find him. Chapter 1078. However, Du Tingxian had been discovered near Thunder Rolling Mountain not long ago and had engaged in an intense battle. Du Tingxian had fought in all directions, killing many experts in a row. After that he had suffered heavy injuries and left, never to appear again. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. Rumble! Thunder rumbled and lightning flashed around Thunder Rolling Mountain from time to time. Thunder rumbled through the sky and an ancient aura spread throughout the land. This made everyone believe that the Divine Thunder Manor was about to appear. All the forces of Kyushu and the Beast region had gathered around Thunder Rolling Mountain. There was a sea of people. All the super experts and experts of the older generation were apprehensive and didn't dare to make a move. Once those super experts made a move, it might be out of control in the end, causing a great battle that could move mountains and overturn seas. It was enough to raze everything to the ground. However, these super experts were all waiting. Once the Divine Thunder Manor appeared, they would have a chance to obtain it. At that time, they wouldn't have any misgivings about the consequences. The rumored inheritance of the Divine Thunder Manor was more important than anything else. It was an irresistible temptation, and they couldn't refuse it either. The experts of the older generation and super experts were apprehensive and didn't make a move. However, some of the younger generation of the sects took advantage of this opportunity to rise up and make a name for themselves. The 13 godly heroes were among the best of the best. The 13 godly heroes was a title given to the younger generation by the people of Tianhuang mainland. They were the absolute peak existences of the younger generation in Kyushu and the Beast region. Look, that's Mu Jianxun of Shangzhou's Saman Sword sect. It said that he's a terrifying young man. He killed a primordial bloodline beast with a single sword strike. The one on the left is Bailey Wia of the Golden Spear sect. His golden spear can pierce through the void. Lian Wushang of the Sacred Flame sect of the Lanzhou is also here. It said that he has a natural flame that can burn everything. Those are the strongest existences of the younger generation. If only I had their talent. The Divine Thunder Manor seems to be about to appear. Lei Prefecture's Heavenly Thunder Fortresses Muchinga, Wan Prefecture's Hundred Flowers Gates Hua Zimo, Yu Prefecture's Snow Wind Cities Feng Wuxia, Cloud Prefecture's Heavenly Music Sects Yuzheng Tongxian, and Central Prefecture's Great Luan Sects Dongli Chihuang. Those extraordinary individuals should be about to appear. Don't forget, there's still Su Mayan from Misty Clouds, Qin Devil Shangguan Qixin, and most importantly, there's still the 9th Prince of the Dragons, Dragon 9, and Huang Linger from the Phoenix clan. Demon King, Du Xiaofu, have you forgotten? It said that the Demon King killed a yellow-striped heaven-shaking tiger roar. It seems that he hasn't shown himself for a long time. Could it be that he's afraid of the beast race's revenge? Around Thunder Rolling Mountain, countless youths and even middle-aged and elderly people looked at the extraordinary young men and women. They secretly discussed with envy. During this period of time, the 13 extraordinary heroes had made a name for themselves in the entire Tianhuang mainland. Their extraordinary martial prowess, unparalleled talents, and they looked down on everyone else. Their names had already spread throughout the Kyushu continent. In the messy cave, the storm had already subsided. Suddenly, a low moan came from the woman's throat. Then she opened her eyes and saw a determined face facing her. It was a bright and clean young man. His masculine body was half on top of her, and half on top of another woman. They were sound asleep. His hand was still on the forbidden area in front of her chest, and his foot was on top of her. The faint pain in her lower body, coupled with the scene in front of her, immediately reminded her of the passionate scenes. Shameless beast! The woman immediately stood up as if she had been electrocuted. Only then did she realize that she was extremely weak. There were dark red spots on her lower body that brought some pain, as if her legs were about to be torn apart. Hurriedly putting on her clothes, the woman's mind was in a mess. How could she have thought that the final outcome would be like this? She actually did that with him. He must die. The woman was stunned for a moment. Tears fell from her dewy eyes, and then murderous intent surged out. Weak xianqi surged, and the woman condensed a palm print on top of Du Xiaofu's head. As long as the palm print fell, she would be able to get rid of the man who had taken her virginity. From then on, she would pretend that nothing had happened. The palm print fell, but it suddenly stopped in front of Du Xiaofu's forehead. The man lying on the ground, in a daze, hugged her leg with one hand and leaned her leg against his chest. Then he fell into a deep sleep. He slept very peacefully, and there was even a trace of a smile at the corner of his mouth. The woman's palm print could not fall. Looking at the resolute and determined face in front of her, she seriously sized him up for the first time. Only then did she realize that although this face could not be considered particularly handsome, it was resolute and resolute. However, that kind of determination and resoluteness was able to move a woman's heart the most. At this moment she was quietly watching. For some unknown reason, a different kind of fluctuation rose in her heart. Thinking of this man's incomparably domineering and disdainful aura, and the fact that he could rely on that green-clothed woman in life and death, and looking at the smiling face that was sleeping soundly and hugging her leg, the woman's palm print swayed a few times before stopping. She was hesitating, and her eyes kept flickering. "Why can't I do it? He's just a brat who's still wet behind the ears," the woman murmured softly. There were traces of tears in her eyes. She had cultivated for more than 30 years. She was extremely talented and had obtained an unparalleled opportunity. 10 years ago, she became the sect master of the Hehuan school. She disguised herself as a man and took charge of the entire Hehuan school. Her name shook the entire Shang province. Even the Kyushu region had her illustrious name. However, other than her master, no one knew that she was a woman disguised as a man. Outsiders thought that she was the sect master of the Hehuan school and had countless women around her. Who knew that she was just a pure girl? And now, her purity had been taken by that purple-robed young man. At this moment, a soft sound of acknowledgement came from Dongli Qingqing's throat. It seemed that she was about to wake up. Looking at the young man and woman in front of her, the woman's eyes trembled. She wanted to strike her palm print again, but she still could not do it. This is an ill-fated relationship. I shouldn't have come to the Tianhuang mainland. I'll return everything that belongs to you. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other. If we meet again, I won't hold back. Murmuring softly, the woman withdrew her palm print and threw down the Qinghuan bags that she had found on Du Xiaofu's body. She gently lifted her leg out of the man's embrace. Taking one last look at that resolute and determined face, she instantly left the cave. In the messy cave, there were piles of rubble all around. The woman had already opened the seal outside the cave and light shone in. Finally, Dongli Qingqing's eyelashes trembled slightly and she woke up. Opening her eyes, Dongli Qingqing was dazed for a moment. Then, the first thing that entered her vision was that clean man. His foot was pressing down heavily on her leg. What happened? Dongli Qingqing's gaze changed in shock. Then she realized that she was clean as well. The pain and faint blood stains on her lower body, as well as the scene in front of her, allowed her to immediately understand what had happened in her blurry mind. Memories flashed through her mind. Dongli Qingqing's face was both shy and shocked. For a moment, she did not know what to do. So, he's also a woman. Dongli Qingqing also recalled that the charming young man was also a woman. However, she was nowhere to be found now. She could not bring herself to talk about the scene between the three of them last night. Immediately putting on her clothes, Dongli Qingqing was a little dazed and a little helpless. After a moment, Dongli Qingqing looked at the man in the cave who had yet to wake up. Her flushed face revealed a bitter smile. Gently, She covered his masculine body with the purple robe on the ground that made her blush shyly. Gently, she stroked the smiling face that was in deep sleep. He was sleeping so peacefully that it made her heart ache. At the same time, she also felt tranquil. Master is here. Suddenly, a faint green light flashed in Dongli Qingqing's eyes. Her expression changed slightly. Looking at the man who was sleeping soundly, she quietly flew out of the cave. It was noon outside the cave and the peaks were clustered together. Chapter 1079. Dongli Qingqing's beautiful figure flew up the mountain peak and looked ahead. A figure slowly descended. Her back was slightly hunched and her hair was combed into a high bun. Her temples were white. "Greetings, master." Dongli Qingqing bowed. The person who had come was her master. Her master had descended in her true form. "Are you with that brat again?" The old woman's sharp voice rang out. If someone unfamiliar with her heard it, they would feel uncomfortable and ear-piercing. "When I came to Tianhuang mainland, there were some problems with the wormholes left behind by the clan. If he hadn't helped me, I'm afraid I would have had to use the power of the primordial spirit that you left behind." Dongli Qingqing lowered her head and said. She didn't dare to look at the old woman directly. "The people from the devil religion must have taken action for that brat. You used the power of my primordial spirit for that brat. The devil religion hasn't given up. They have been restless. That's not something you should do. You shouldn't be with that brat. You should know that you have important things to do now. You have responsibilities on your shoulders." Suddenly, the old woman looked at Dongli Qingqing. She seemed to have sensed something. Her sharp gaze trembled with shock and surprise. She said, "You've broken through to transcendent martial saint and have the aura of your bloodline. Have you completely awakened your bloodline?" Dongli Qingqing nodded. Her face also revealed joy. She said softly, "I didn't expect that after falling into a crisis, I would be able to awaken my bloodline. I even took the opportunity to break through to transcendent martial saint." Bloodline. That's the effect of your bloodline. It seems that the thing left behind by the clan has already been effective. The bloodline in your body now is comparable to a sovereign martial vein. The old woman was happy. Her gaze trembled slightly. She said to Dongli Qingqing, "Qing, come back with me immediately. You've just broken through to transcendent and need to stabilize your cultivation and bloodline. You'll have a chance to take revenge for that blood feud." "Master, are we leaving now? We still haven't found the disciples of the divine Thunder Manor." Dongli Qingqing raised her head in surprise. She couldn't help but look at the cave not far behind her. "I had you come to Tianhuang mainland with the intention of giving you the chance to obtain Jinlei Tensei's inheritance and help you awaken your bloodline. Now, you've already awakened your bloodline. Your clan's ancestors' cultivation was the strongest in this world. He's is no weaker than Jinlei Tenni, so that use Jinlei Tenni. Jinlei Tenni. So there's no the Tenni who is. You use Musa's Nenin. Master ancestor you. Ancestor S inheritance. 10. Is use. Is there, master, but Dongli Qingqing hesitated. Right now, she was about to leave. She was a bit reluctant. A flash of emotion appeared in her glassy eyes. It was hard to fathom. "Could it be that you want me to kill that brat? It seems he's really affected you. You have no choice but to kill him." The old woman's gaze suddenly turned sharp. A cold light flashed through her eyes. "No, master. I'll go back with you." Dongli Qingqing gazed at the cave behind her. She lowered her eyes. A light flashed through her eyes. Then it disappeared. She thought back to the passionate scenes of the three of them. Although she'd been affected by the illusion and couldn't control herself, she'd still been so passionate. Thinking back to it, her cheeks flushed. "How could I do something like that?" Dongli Qingqing muttered to herself. "I don't know how I'll face you when the time comes. I have a blood feud. I can't drag you down. If our feelings for each other last, we'll meet again." Let's go," said the old woman. Her expression and aura made it impossible to refuse. I'll leave first. Take care of yourself. We'll meet again if fate wills it. Dong Li Qingqing nodded. She turned back to look at the cave behind her. She formed a hand seal. A stream of light flashed into the cave. Then she left with the old woman. After a few flashes, she disappeared into thin air. Bang! A low muffled sound resounded in the cave. Then, Dong Li Qingqing's voice faintly echoed in the cave. I'll leave first. Take care of yourself. We'll meet again if fate wills it. Du Xiaofu finally woke up. Ever since he'd been able to cultivate, he'd changed his sleep to meditation. Du Xiaofu didn't know how long it had been since he'd slept so soundly. When he opened his eyes, Du Xiaofu felt a little dizzy. He suddenly remembered that he was still in danger. He sat up abruptly. Fuck, what happened? Where are my clothes? It seems, soon after, Du Xiaofu's moaning voice was heard from within the cave. Du Xiaofu suddenly sat up, only to discover that he was completely naked at this moment. A few Qianquan bags that originally belonged to him were scattered all over his body. The charming young man and Dong Li Qingqing beside him had already disappeared. Then, Du Xiaofu recalled the scene in the illusion array. The charming young man seemed to be a woman. Then there was that erotic scene. It seemed like there were 3 people. Was the illusion real or not? Du Xiaofu was stunned. He couldn't remember. If it was real, then it was impossible. He and the charming young man. Could it be that he and a man? Du Xiaofu almost vomited. If it was an illusion, how could he be naked? It felt so real. What's going on? What happened? Du Xiaofu couldn't remember. He couldn't tell if it was an illusion or reality. Chapter 1080. After consuming the elixir and circulating the golden-winged rock technique, Du Xiaofu's profound qi was recovering and the injuries on his body were also slowly healing. However, Du Xiaofu was also in a sorry state as he escaped from death once again. This time, his injuries were extremely serious and it would take a lot of time for him to fully recover. Even if Du Xiaofu had the golden-winged rock technique, it would be difficult for him to recover in a short period of time. Fortunately, there was plenty of time in the ancient desolate space. There was no time for cultivation and a month had passed in the ancient desolate space. Phew! The golden light around Du Xiaogang retracted and then disappeared into his body. He spat out a mouthful of turbid air and opened his eyes. The purple gold light in his eyes surged endlessly. I've finally recovered. Du Xiaofu stood up and felt that everything in his body had recovered to its peak state. The numerous injuries on his body had already healed and his body was still crystal clear, emitting a faintly discernible purple gold light. Clenching his fist slightly, the space around his palms slightly distorted. The powerful feeling made Du Xiaofu's eyes glow. It should be about time. Du Xiaofu's purple robe shook and a figure in luxurious clothes flew out from the purple lightning profound cauldron that was floating in front of him. It was the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python that had been in the purple lightning profound cauldron for a month. At this moment, the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python's clothes were a little shabby, but his eyes were suffused with a faint purple gold light. The heaven wasteland star-swallowing python's peak profound beast sovereign aura had now reached the nirvana beast sovereign level. That formless aura was even more vigorous and surging. The heaven wasteland star-swallowing python had obtained the divine lightning body refinement in the purple lightning profound cauldron. That was a huge benefit and it had naturally allowed him to break through to the nirvana beast sovereign level. Looking at Du Xiaofu, the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python's eyes were filled with doubt and surprise. He naturally knew what benefits he had obtained. His bloodline was strengthening and his physical body had become incomparably strong. All of that was caused by the strange and overbearing purple lightning. Why are you giving me such benefits? The heaven wasteland star-devouring python could not help but ask Du Xiaofu. He really could not understand why the savage human would give him such a huge benefit. If he had known about this opportunity beforehand, he would have been willing to pay any price to obtain it. Of course, the heaven wasteland star-devouring python would still hesitate if it had to become a servant of a human. The pride contained in the bloodline of the heaven wasteland star-devouring python was not something that ordinary beasts could compare with. Even when facing Dragon 9, the Heaven Wasteland star-swallowing python had never submitted from the bottom of its heart. The bloodline of the Prometha beast has also strengthened. Du Xiaofu looked at the Heaven Wasteland star-devouring python with a satisfied look in his eyes. Then, his expression became fierce and intimidating as he said in a deep voice, "Right now, there are only two paths in front of you. You should know best what kind of benefits you have obtained. First, I will kill you without any hesitation. Your essence, blood and flesh will become the nourishment for me to strengthen myself, and your mysterious bones will become the treasure I leave behind for my fellow disciples. Second, follow me. It doesn't matter whether you become my servant or not. I admire your pride and can make you one of the commanders of my heavenly beast hall." The Heaven Wasteland star-swallowing python looked at Du Xiaofu with trembling eyes. He knew that although the purple-robed young man before him looked calm and kind, he was the true Demon King. He was not a soft-hearted person. He also knew what benefits he had obtained this time and that the other party was not lying to him. "I can't submit to a human." The Heaven Wasteland star-swallowing python clenched his teeth. The breakthrough this time had given him some confidence. However, when he thought of the fate of the heaven-shaking yellow-striped tiger, he regretted his words. "I can give you a chance. As long as you can defeat me, I will let you go. If you lose, you only have two choices. This is my respect for your pride." Du Xiaofu said. The pride of the Heaven Wasteland star-swallowing python made Du Xiaofu admire it. That was why he gave it a chance. Otherwise, he would have killed it long ago. "All right, let's decide this with a battle." Having no other choice, the Heaven Wasteland star-swallowing python nodded. A sliver of purple-gold lightning spread in the depths of its sharp eyes. Suddenly, the runes on its body surged, turning into a huge seven-colored python that occupied the misty void. It was the true form of the Heaven Wasteland star-swallowing python. Rumble! The Heaven Wasteland star-swallowing python was like a huge dragon that occupied the void. Its entire body was rippling with nebulae. Its huge and ferocious mouth looked like it could swallow the stars. It was a terrifying demonic beast that possessed an ancient bloodline and was extremely rare. It was rumored that when the Heaven Wasteland star-swallowing python cultivated to the extreme, it could swallow the stars and cover the sky. It was extremely terrifying. There was once an expert of the Heaven Wasteland star-swallowing python that left behind countless legends in the ancient times. The Heaven Wasteland star-swallowing python let out a dragon-like roar. The seven-colored scales on its body stood up, bringing along a sonorous and deafening sound wave. Its huge body then directly pounced towards Du Xiaofu. The body of the Heaven Wasteland star-swallowing python was like a huge and terrifying seven-colored lightning bolt. Dazzling runes swept down, sweeping through everything in an incomparably blazing manner. Du Xiaofu was calm as he stood in the void. He did not care about it and did not dodge. He allowed the runes that covered the sky and the terrifying aura to crush him. Rumble! The terrifying aura crushed the void and caused a rumbling sound. It was enough to directly suppress and heavily injure an ordinary nirvana-revered martial artist. Amidst the rumbling sound, the terrifying runes had already swept towards Du Xiaofu. The terrifying runes turned into a vortex that swallowed everything. The runes covered the sky like divine light drowning the void. It caused the ancient space to boil. The pressure was too terrifying. This was the innate ability of the Heaven Wasteland star-swallowing python, star-swallowing. It was extremely terrifying. In the ancient times, it was rumored that an expert of the Heaven Wasteland star-swallowing python had once swallowed dragons. This was also the important reason why this Heaven Wasteland star-swallowing python did not truly submit to the Dragon 9. Boom! At the same time, Du Xiaofu also moved. With a wave of his hand, a golden light erupted from his body. The sky was filled with golden rays, and a domineering and terrifying aura overflowed into the sky. It turned into the shadow of a huge peng with golden wings. It was like a huge peng spreading its wings. It opened and closed widely and directly swept forward. As the two forces of energy clashed, the void suddenly trembled. The sound was like thunder, and a series of bright runes burst out, as gorgeous as fireworks. The star-swallowing vortex of the heaven wasteland's star-swallowing python was easily destroyed. Bang! In an instant, Du Xiaofu's figure swept across the sky like a huge peng spreading its wings. He pressed his hand down on the heaven wasteland's star-swallowing python in an overbearing and domineering manner. Oh no, I'm no match for him. In just an instant, the heart of the enormous heaven wasteland's star-devouring python trembled. He had a premonition that something bad was about to happen. A tyrannical and terrifying aura swept out. The seemingly insignificant golden palm imprint contained the will and aura of a supreme beast, the golden-winged Great Peng. It suppressed his body, and then a huge force poured into his body. Boom! The huge body of the heaven wasteland's star-swallowing python fell from the sky. It spat out large mouthfuls of blood from its hideous mouth. The huge nebula python's body trembled violently. Its eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. The heaven wasteland star-swallowing python originally thought that it had some trump cards after obtaining the huge benefits and breaking through the beast's sovereign nirvana realm. However, it did not expect that it would still be so weak in front of the ferocious Demon King. It was no match for him at all. The strength of the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, was too terrifying. You've lost. Do you want to submit or die? Du Xiaofu appeared. His eyes were sharp and filled with murderous intent. As long as the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python shook its head, Du Xiaofu would kill it without hesitation. There was not much time to delay. Whether it was his alcoholic father, Du Xiaoqing, Scarlet Rock, Blue Fantasy and the others, all of them made Du Xiaofu extremely worried. The huge eyes of the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python looked at the purple-robed youth floating in the sky. The sharp aura in his eyes made it know that if it shook its head, its divine soul would be destroyed in the next second. I'll submit, but I won't be a servant. I'll only submit, and I'll only be the commander of your heavenly beast hall. The heaven wasteland star-swallowing python submitted in the end. However, its pride was still there. It did not want to die. Although the Demon King in front of it was a human, the aura on his body seemed to be related to the golden-winged Great Peng race. Furthermore, he was a terrifying existence. If it followed him, it might be an opportunity. Moreover, it had already obtained great benefits. After weighing the pros and cons, it was not difficult for the heaven wasteland star-swallowing python to make a choice. Welcome to my heavenly beast hall. The sharp expression on Du Xiaofu's face turned gentle in the next second. A smile appeared in his eyes, like a flower blooming in spring. You change your face faster than flipping the pages of a book. The heaven wasteland star-swallowing python once again transformed into its luxurious clothes. Looking at the gentle smile on the purple-robed youth's face, it felt even more fear in its heart. That Demon King was definitely someone who changed his face faster than flipping the pages of a book. After a while, outside the cave, Du Xiaofu stretched his back. Looking at the rising clouds in the east, he said, "From now on, you'll be called Star-Swallowing. How about it? Where are we going now?" The heaven wasteland star-swallowing python did not object. It looked at Du Xiaofu and asked, "Thunder Rolling Mountain." Du Xiaofu said. He estimated that if Du Xiaoyao and the others did not find him, they would definitely go to Thunder Rolling Mountain. As for his alcoholic father, he should also appear at Thunder Rolling Mountain in the end. You have enemies all over the world. Dragon 9 is looking for you. You have killed many members of the beast race. Many extraordinary members of the beast race will definitely not let you go. Going to Thunder Rolling Mountain is no different from courting death. The star-swallowing python did not want to say anything. However, when it heard that Du Xiaofu wanted to go to Thunder Rolling Mountain, it could not help but open its mouth. So what if I have enemies all over the world? There will be a day when I will be able to rise to the top. I will be able to protect everything I want to protect in this world. I won't have to fear anyone. The obstacles now will be my best whetstone. Du Xiaofu said softly. He yearned to become stronger so that he would not have to be afraid of everything. This Demon King is really a little special. The star-swallowing python looked at Du Xiaofu and muttered in its heart. However, it did not say anything else. Chapter 1081. Soon after, the two of them left. The experts of the devil religion were searching everywhere for him. Du Xiaofu had no choice but to pay more attention. The devil religion's Thundergeezer didn't know what had happened to him after facing Dongli Qingqing's master's strand of primordial spirit power. Du Xiaofu knew full well that he was no match for the Thundergeezer, so he had no choice but to avoid him. Du Xiaofu asked around and captured quite a few passers-by. He learned that ever since his drunkard father had appeared and slaughtered everyone, then left with heavy injuries, he hadn't shown himself again. He'd disappeared without a trace. "Dad, you can't let anything happen to you." Du Xiaofu found it hard to calm down. He was very worried. Demon King, Du Xiaofu, Du Tingxian. Temple Master, you aren't Du Tingshuan's son, are you? Star Swallower suddenly asked Du Xiaofu in astonishment. As he listened to Du Xiaofu's inquiries, he suddenly realized something. You guessed right. Du Tingxian is my father. If anyone dares to touch him, I won't let them off. Du Xiaofu nodded with a smile. Every time he thought of his drunkard father, his heart warmed. That quiet, drunken middle-aged man had watched over him for 17 years. 17 years later, in order to reunite with his mother and sister, his drunkard father had chosen to leave. It wasn't hard for Du Xiaofu to know that his drunkard brother was tempering himself and seeking strength. Now, he was being hunted by all of Kyushu and the Beast region. My dad seems to be stronger than me. Du Xiaofu smiled faintly. His drunkard father seemed to be much stronger than him. At least he was being hunted by the devil religion and a few other powers, but his drunkard father was being hunted by the entire world. Even when he was on the Tianwu Academy's fugitive list, his drunkard's father was ranked second. You two are really father and son. You both dare to touch dragons. Awesome. Star Swallowing Star was stunned for a moment. Then he could only smile bitterly. This father and son pair had touched dragons before. There were probably not many father and son pairs in the world who would dare to touch dragons. Father, take care. I'm coming to Thunder Rolling Mountain to look for you. Du Xiaofu muttered to himself. He was a little excited and a little jealous. How could Du Xiaofu not know that his drunkard father had to endure much more than he did after all these years of tempering himself outside? On the way to Thunder Rolling Mountain, Du Xiaofu didn't take the initiative to look for trouble. However, there were some blind people who wanted to find trouble with him and Star Swallowing Star by relying on their numbers. One could well imagine what would happen to them. In front of those two fiends, those who came looking for trouble would not even have the chance to regret. Along the way, Du Xiaofu wanted to find out more about Du Xiaoyao and the others. However, he didn't get any useful information. Finally, the two of them gathered information, dealt with trouble, and avoided all kinds of dangerous places on Tianhuang continent. Du Xiaofu and Star Swallowing Star approached Thunder Rolling Mountain. Thunder Rolling Mountain wasn't just a mountain. It was a vast mountain range. Because thunder rumbled in the air all year round, it was called Thunder Rolling Mountain. At this moment, there was a sea of people near Thunder Rolling Mountain. Countless figures were entrenched in their respective positions. Countless auras fluctuated. Weaker cultivators would feel an enormous pressure as soon as they got close. It was enough to cause the profound energy in their body to stagnate and their bodies to tremble. We're already in the vicinity of Thunder Rolling Mountain. Be careful. You've killed many people from the Beast region. Some beast experts will definitely attack you. Star Swallowing Star couldn't help but remind Du Xiaofu. The Demon King had been hunted down the entire way. He was quite fierce and ostentatious. Don't worry. I'll be careful. Du Xiaofu patted Star Swallowing Star's shoulder and nodded. He was extremely satisfied with Star Swallowing Star. After this guy submitted, he didn't have any other thoughts. He even displayed the innate ability of the Heaven Wasteland's Star Swallowing Python, Star Swallowing, for Du Xiaofu to comprehend. The two of them restrained themselves a little and quietly slipped into the sea of people. They didn't attract too much attention. The sea of people near Thunder Rolling Mountain didn't pay much attention to them either. The Demon King, Du Xiaofu, was already famous. However, there weren't many people who'd personally seen the Demon King, Du Xiaofu. The two of them slipped into the crowd. Amidst the clamor and discussion, they heard all sorts of rumors. Quite a few cultivators were talking about them. I didn't expect the Central Continent's Dongli Chihuang to be so strong. He has the secret art of reincarnation. His mental state and cultivation are enough to crush opponents of the same level. He can easily kill opponents of a higher level. Shang Continent's Sa Meng Sword Sex Mu Genshin. He killed a primordial bloodline ferocious beast with a single slash. Under the sword Dao, he has never met a worthy opponent among his peers. Ning Continent's Golden Spear Sex Bailey Wia pierced through the void with a golden spear. He fought 300 rounds with Lan Continent's Sacred Flame Sex Li Yen Wusheng. In the end, there was a draw. Among the crowd, the most talked about were the 13 heroic heroes. They were the pinnacle of the younger generation. Lei Continent's Heavenly Thunder Fortress Muqinga, Wan Continent's Hundred Flowers Sex Hua Zimo, Yu Continent's Snow Wind City's Feng Wuxie, Cloud Continent's Heavenly Music Sex Yuzheng Tongxian, Cloud Continent's Misty Su Mayan, Zither Demon Shangguan Qixin, the Ninth Prince of the Dragons, Dragon 9, and the Phoenix Clan's Huang Ling. These names appeared one by one in Du Xiaofu's ears. It was rumored that the 13 heroic heroes were the ones with the highest chance of obtaining the inheritance of the Divine Thunder Mansion. The traces of the Divine Thunder Mansion were becoming more and more obvious. It seemed like it was about to appear completely. Various forces were quietly waiting for the final battle. Bang bang! There were many sonic booms coming from the front. Low explosions were constantly heard. The stakes for this bet are quite high. It's 10 high-grade Dao artifacts. Although the 7-star hall is not as powerful as the One Valley, 2 religions, 3 sects, and 3 factions in the Central Continent, it is still the most powerful force to contend with the One Valley, 2 religions, 3 sects, and 3 factions. It is rumored that the 7 hall masters of the 7-star hall are all extraordinary people. The weapon-revered Xiahou Fenglei has already stepped into the 9-star Spirit Talisman Master. The 5th Hall Master, GMO, is also in the martial domain realm. You guys still don't know. The Demon King, Du Xiaofu, is said to be the young Hall Master of the 7-star Hall. He is the personal disciple of the weapon-revered Xiahou Fenglei. Isn't the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, a disciple of the ancient sky sect, Gu Qingyang? Some time ago, Gu Qingyang fought with the ancient fist sect's Fat Buddha for the sake of the Demon King, Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu's sect is complicated. Although he is a disciple of the ancient sky sect, he is also a disciple of the 7-star hall. The ancient sky sect is not weak. Yesterday, the ancient sky sects Shui Ruhan and Gong Zhengyu fought each other. The stakes were also 10 high-grade Dao artifacts. In the end, Shui Ruhan won easily. I heard that the Divine Thunder Body Tempering Ceremony was obtained by Du Xiaofu and Sima Muhan. The ancient sky sect is not weak, but the 7-star hall is a little weaker. Moreover, Lin Weiqi is now facing Li Yen Wusheng of the Holy Flame sect. That guy has a natural heavenly flame. He fought 300 rounds with Bailey Wia of the Golden Spear sect to a draw. He is one of the 13 outstanding heroes. Lin Weiqi may not be able to defeat him. I heard that the weapon-revered Xiahou Fenglei once defeated an expert of the Holy Flame sect more than 1,000 years ago. Li Yen Wusheng of the Holy Flame sect is deliberately challenging the 7-star hall. In front of the whole world, the 7-star hall cannot refuse. Even if they are defeated, they can only accept it.